Well, it is quiet outside in Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, probably quiet throughout Atlanta tonight, but crazy in the dressing room. We say hello to all our viewers in Canada on the CTV network. First, let's talk to Devon White. A nervous ninth tonight, but you guys pulled it out.
Oh, definitely. It was a nerve-wracking, and, you know, we prevailed. Dave Winfield picked us up at the end right there, and, hey, we're the champions. We're bringing it back to Toronto.
I talked to you the other day about this series being a series of different heroes, someone coming through every different moment, and it happened again. This time it was Dave.
Oh, definitely. You know, he was pretty hard on himself, and I said, Dave, you're going to do something to, you know, pick us up, and he did. He did.
How will you ever forget Game 3 and that great catch at the wall? Maybe that could have even vaulted this team to the World Championship. You never know how those events could have turned around.
Well, it was a great play, but I think, you know, tonight was the best. Tonight was the best. We went up and down. We had a 2-1 game here, and they tied it up. And we went ahead 4-2, then they scored 1 run, and, hey, this is the best. You know, forget about the catch right now. Think about this, you know, crown we got, this trophy.
Well, catch some of this feeling. This is incredible in the Jays dressing room. Let's go now to Joe Carter. And, Joe, I talked to you yesterday about who this is for, and you gave me a pile of names. Who is it for now?
I tell you, there's a long list out there. You got Cedar, you got Dade, you got everybody in this ball club. You got the people in Canada and Toronto. I mean, they're back at the SkyDome celebrating, and this is great. You know, this team, we had 3 goals in mind when we left spring training, and that was win our division, win the LCS, and then win the World Series. It was 3 for 3 in '92. We set our goals right, and we came out, and I thank God above because he got us here today, and I just want to say thank you, Jesus, because this is awesome with a capital A, baby. Awesome with a capital A.
Go enjoy, Joe Carter.
Right.
Congratulations. Let's go to the man who was potentially sitting in the room here, looking ahead maybe to Game 7. Juan Guzman, you were nervous in the locker room too, as we were standing here thinking it was all over for a moment.
Well, yeah, well, I was a little bit nervous. You know, I can tell you this. Well, everybody was saying, you know, what's happening, you know. But, you know, I was ready all the way. You know, I said, well, whatever happened, you know, I'm going to be ready for tomorrow.
What about now? What are you going to do tomorrow? You don't have to pitch.
Well, tomorrow, I'm getting ready to wait. I can't wait to see my people. I can't wait to go up to Toronto. I wish we can leave it right now.
The people in Toronto, I don't know if you know or not, we're watching in the SkyDome. There probably are still sitting back there, about 40 to 50,000 we're watching. The whole country of Canada cheering right now. This is a first. Do you feel part of history, bringing Canada its first ever World Series?
Yeah, I feel part of them because, you know, I really work hard, you know, to get these victories, you know, for the whole country. You know, like I said before, you know, I won the World Series because this country, all the fans they go to the SkyDome, they deserve this World Series.
Is there a special moment that you will always remember about this World Series? One special moment for Juan Guzman?
Well, the special moment it was when we clinched to come to the World Series. You know, when I pitched a good game, you know, I can't forget that moment. You know, it was a great game that I pitched.
Well, go enjoy this moment. Congratulations. Right, Juan Guzman, a great moment for him in the ALCS and a great moment for him in the World Series, too. He might have had to pitch tomorrow. He doesn't. He will be celebrating with the rest of Toronto the night the lights went out in Georgia. We'll be back with more from the Blue Jays locker room in a moment.
My granddaughter Gina's class was painting a mural, and she's standing there in her papa's old shirt looking so proud. So much color. So beautiful. I could cry. Sorry, Papa. No picture.
Don't miss the moment. Keep your camera ready with new Kodak Go Plus film for more color than ever before. You can't keep the moment without Kodak.
Few Canadians realize that the Charlottetown Agreement is the result of one of the broadest public consultations in our history. Since 1990, over 700,000 Canadians and hundreds of concerned groups were listened to and heard. The agreement is the result of our representatives listening to the input of people just like you. Read the agreement to make an informed decision on October 26th. It's important to you and to your country.
Kathy, let's go find Daddy. Hi. I like the
who's coming?
With a Coke for Daddy.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Daddy.
Nice cold, too.
Thank you, Daddy.
Jennifer?
Grandpa, you always go to Esso.
Always have.
But I know why.
Well, they're nice folks. Service is always good.
But did you ever see a tiger?
I'm too old to see tigers.
Too old?
When you get bigger, you don't see tigers anymore. Did you see a tiger?
I'm too big to see tigers.
Me too.
At Esso, giving you good service is how we earn our stripes.
Welcome back to Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium. Now, the folks in the SkyDome in Toronto made some noise, but those fans that made the trip south to Georgia are enjoying every moment of Canada's first World Championship. The Blue Jays, in dramatic fashion, go to 11 innings to win it all. These fans are celebrating, and they're celebrating in the very damp dressing room. Rod?
All right, Robbie Falls. Jack Morris is in here right now, and he's hurting because you were underneath that pile of people out there.
Yeah, but what a great hurt. It was wonderful. I just want to say something to all the people back in Toronto. Don't go crazy yet. We're not home yet. Give us a chance to get there first. I did my best, you know, but I got to be a part of this, and we did win. We persevered, and it's wonderful.
I had a feeling they might have to pitch you again tonight. You were running out of bodies out there.
Well, I'd have gone out there. I know that. I told them last night they're in trouble because I'm not out there, but I'd have gone back out there. Go ahead.
The smile says it all. The other day, you were so disappointed. I think you really were frustrated in this World Series. 2 swings of the bat, maybe 2 bad pitches, Jack. But how does this rank? I mean, you've won with the Tigers, you won with the Twins, you were MVP last year, the clinching game. You just said to me a little while ago, this is such a team game. Do you feel more than ever that this was for everybody?
Well, the way this one developed tonight, it was a great game. It was a team game. Nothing came easy tonight, and really nothing came easy in this whole series. But what's so great about it is the fact that we were in it together, and it wasn't one guy who really stood out other than Pat Borders, who had a great series offensively. It wasn't just one guy, and it was great for all of us. I've been through 3 now. I'm so lucky, but I don't think anyone's better than either of the other 2. It's just a great feeling.
To be honest with me, though, that was a nervous 9th, and in those extra innings for a second there, and it's amazing, Otis Nixon hit that ball on the stroke of midnight. It might have been fate, but it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't meant to be because we did get him out, and how appropriate for Dave Winfield to get the big hit to score the 2 runs. And Jimmy Key back out there tonight to get the win. You know, it's just so darn good. And I want to let the people know back in Toronto that, you know, we all are going to party together. So be cool tonight.
All right, Jack, congratulations. And Jack Morris is going back to Toronto. David Wells is in. Come on, Boomer. Hey, you got a lot of work in this World Series.
Oh man, it was a great thing for me. It was a dream of all dreams, and you know, I finally got an opportunity. I didn't get in the playoffs, but you know, I had to be patient, had to be ready for the Braves.
I know you were wearing the cone head earlier tonight. You had to take that off. You had to come in for a while. I know everybody was probably in Canada shaking in their boots for a while, but you guys pulled it off. And maybe this team said it best the other day when they said this was destiny a long time ago.
Well, you know, you got each and individual out here that played 110% all year long. We made things happen. We made sacrifices, and that's what you got to do to win ball games. Excuse me, but you know, it's not one man. It's 25 guys out there, and plus the call-ups that we had, and it was just unreal. And you know, I said in a bad way to the Toronto fans back there that I presented it in a different way. That you know, they were brutal, not cheering. Dave Winfield came in behind me, picked my butt up, and did it the right way. And you know, you couldn't ask for a better bunch of people out there getting into it, because it made me feel a whole lot better to hear that kind of crowd, because when they get loud, and it's outstanding.
Besides everything else, how emotional is this, and how emotional was the moment when Mike Timlin threw the ball to first, and it finally was yours?
Well, you know, you can't imagine that kind of moment at the time. You're devastated, and that's the best line you can wear is devastation, because you're out there, you're running, you don't know where to run to, you try to find the person to make a crowd, and I was right next to Jack on the bottom of the pile and let me up, I was getting crushed on there. But you know, it's just something that you play this game, and this is what you hope for, and it's outstanding. And everyone, you know, I love all these guys. They're great. They help me along. I help them along, and as well as our families. They kept us in fine tune.
Only one thing would have made this sweeter, though, had you had a chance to bat. I know you wanted to bat.
Well, you know, I told them earlier I had a couple chances, and they put me in. It might have been over a long time ago, you know. I got that left swing, and I go for the fence every time, so you never know what's going to go on there. But, you know, let the real hitters take care of that, and let me just concentrate on pitching.
And you did it very well. Congratulations, David Wells, and go enjoy yourself. We're going to be back with much more in a moment. More celebration. The Blue Jays are on top of the world in 92.
World Series celebrations. Images that last a lifetime and heroes that last forever. Now you can let the celebration go on and on with the official 1992 World Series video. To order for $24.98 plus tax and $4 shipping, use your credit card and call 1-800-544-7812. That's 1-800-544-7812.
The guy's 50. There's no way he's going to beat me. Kid, I'm going to beat you bad.
The Special K breakfast. The Special K breakfast is a good source of protein. Protein that helps maintain and repair body tissue.
Don't worry, son. You'll catch on. Someday. Looking good, Dad.
The Kellogg's Special K breakfast, a good source of protein.
Everybody's got the power to stand up and say it loud. People gotta know just what people can do. There's a change, you can feel it too. Everybody's got the power to do what you wanna do.
Now accomplish what you knew you could do. Find out about affordable Ambro personal computers.
It was in the top of the fourth inning. Candy Maldonado at the plate. And, oh, yeah, he just said it himself, and he's standing right here. He said boom, and it was gone. Candy Maldonado, only 3 hits in the whole series, but that potentially could have been a game-winning RBI. You were the hero back in Toronto. I know you could have had that one again. It got a little nerve-wracking for the team at the end, though.
It definitely did. And, you know, you have to give a lot of credit to the Atlanta Braves. They played, you know, extremely great baseball, great pitching. You know, they kept us up down this whole series long. I just thank the Lord that I had this opportunity again, you know, to contribute. Like I say, you know, you don't come to this series trying to be a hero. All you want to be is part of it. And yesterday I stayed over and worked with Larry, took some extra swings, you know, and it paid off in that opportunity. But I have to give a lot of credit to one man, Yacito Gaffney. You know, he gave me the opportunity to be here. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to be here. You know, he always had the trust and the confidence. One funny thing today, you know, my wife said, how many hits are you going to get? Well, honey, I don't know. You know, as long as we win, I don't care. But, you know, he came out with a big hit, and we won.
Well, Becky, what did you think when that ball went over the fence?
I think it was great. I felt so good for him. I think he deserved that. It's been a long year for him. When he came to this team, he didn't have any position. I'm so glad that he had a great year, and I thank the Lord for that.
What about the Braves? You have to give them credit, too. What a gritty team. Played right to the bitter end.
Well, like I said, you know, from the beginning, I expected this series to be a pitching series. And it turned out to be the same series that we played against Oakland A's. You know, Game 5, we got blown away after playing some close games and coming from behind. And today, you know, it was a little different. It wasn't like we did, you know, we scored 6 runs right off the bat, but, you know, it was intense. It was great. It was, it could give you a heart attack if you're in the field, you know. But we came through, and a lot of people don't realize, maybe it hasn't sink in yet, but the way we battle all year long, the last 2 months of the season, especially the last one, the playoffs, and being here and being part of history and everything, you know, coming down to the wire. And one other thing, you know, I think, you know, we get the respect now that we deserve because, you know, a lot of people didn't give us a chance. And coming here to Atlanta, they thought that maybe because they were going to come and play in Atlanta that we were going to just destroy. But, you know, a lot of people realize we learned from that series that we played against Milwaukee, you know, when we lost 3 games in a row. After that, we didn't lost 2 games in a row.
Well, Candy Maldonado, big part of this World Series championship. Congratulate Maldonado family. Celebrate. You're going to get...
Guys.
They got got the tomahawk chop going here, too. Who we're gonna bring in here now? I think we got Jimmy Key. All right, we're gonna get Jimmy Key and oh, here's John Oliver. Let's get John. John, come on in. People in Canada are watching. People back at the SkyDome. I know you seem so focused over the last couple of days, and I know you really wanted to be in the lineup tonight because of the National League shuffle and the no designated hitter rule. But still, you must savor this moment. You certainly contributed in the World Series.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I'd love to be in the ball game, but man, we got. I mean, got a bunch of great guys on this team, and somebody was going to have to sit down, and you just go with the best matchup you can. You got some great left-handers here, but I tell you what, that was a tough game to sit on the bench and watch. Talk about a roller coaster ride. My stomach is just worn out.
There were very close games in all 6 games, as a matter of fact. And, you know, surprisingly, the long ball really played into it. The home run ball, especially by your team. Pat Borders playing so well. And everyone, we talked about heroes. Every single game, there was a different one.
Yeah, there sure was. And I think that says a lot about our ball club. We had a lot of different guys throughout the lineup that could win a ball game for us. A lot of ways to hurt other teams. And it was just a great series for us. Everybody, you know, had their own time where they had some good games and some good plays, and just real proud to be a part of this ball club.
Well, congratulations to you. Go and enjoy the night. I know the party in Toronto has really started. We're going to be back in a moment to wrap up the night. John Olerud and the Blue Jays will be partying tonight. The victory parade will be this week in Toronto as the celebration. The Blue Jays are the world champions.
She's with that personality, so many ways to wake your breakfast up on hot toast, English muffin, or put it in an omelet too. The thing you taste of cheese with light, but zip in everything you do. She's with that personality, and personality. She's with and personality.
Question.
You get a headache, you take a couple of pills. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Bleeding in my stomach. I would have noticed that, wouldn't I?
Should I worry about side effects with my prescription? Answer.
Tylenol. When used as directed, drug interactions, stomach bleeding, or other complications are rare. Tylenol has the strength to deliver fast, effective relief. Tylenol is pain relief you can trust.
I like the sound of that.
Arthur was named after our great-uncle Arthur on my side of the family, who was a very distinguished gentleman.
Purina ONE presents Arthur and Nancy, one-on-one.
He's definitely one of my best friends. He's so dedicated to me, and he's everywhere with me.
Purina ONE, a super premium line of pet foods with superior taste and optimum nutrition for your one and only.
And all he wants in life is to be loved back.
World Series celebrations. Images that last a lifetime and heroes that last forever. Now you can let the celebration go on and on with the official 1992 World Series video. To order for $24.98 plus tax and $4 shipping, use your credit card and call 1-800-544-7812. That's 1-800-544-7812.
It is a circus, it is a zoo, but it is boisterous, and right now Canada is smiling. There's Jack Morris and the Toronto Blue Jays. Tonight, world champions of Major League Baseball. We are back outside of that locker room, or a little...
Sure, a little wetter than I thought you might be.
You know, Rob, I saw, you know, over the last couple of weeks, and, you know, being around the players and being around the Braves, I really thought that the tide had turned back in Toronto, and I thought that this potentially could have gone to a 7th game. Very well could have. Very well could have. But, you know, the Blue Jays came out here yesterday during batting practice. The Braves did not work out, and they looked so angry at themselves for letting the one slip away, particularly Jack Morris. I think it's a real tribute to this organization and the depth that so many players could contribute.
I think also, Rod, the fact was that the Blue Jays did not listen to anybody saying, well, they're going back to Atlanta. We all know what has happened in the past 5 times. The team leading 3-2 has come in, and watching that changeover as the home team starts to feed off the fans, The Blue Jays let none of that bother them. They came out, they said, all right, let's play the way we can play. We'll let David get us in there. We'll see what we can do behind them, and they did that. It's been a long road since the first pitch in April. 178 games, but boy, the 174, but 174 was a sweet one.
Quickly, we were in the dressing room where they had us in there, then they told us to leave because they thought the game might go to a seventh game, and all of a sudden it didn't. It was incredible.
My stomach started to hurt, and then it just hurt watching David Cone and Juan Guzman, who were there, and Cone had no fingernails left. He was wringing a towel. It was just amazing.
Well, it was amazing, and it was an amazing year for the Toronto Blue Jays. An incredibly emotional year, and we end the season off by saying it best in a song that was done by a Canadian for a Canadian team, and a love affair that began with a city and then captured a whole country. Good night from Atlanta. The Blue Jays are world champions. Do it for the Royals.
The catch, tagging up his bell. The throw is not cut off, and the run scores, and the Blue Jays have taken a 7-6 lead. And the drive hit into center field. Wilson going back, looking up. It's gone. High fly ball. Toward the line in left. Calling for it is Maldonado, and the Blue Jays have finally won the pennant. The pitch in the dirt. Here comes Alomar. Berryhill is close, and here is well hit to left field. To the wall, Deion Sanders. Home run at spring. Well hit to center field. Devon White racing back to the warning track. Great pitch up against the wall. Down the left field line. Sanders watching it go. Home run, Kelly Roof. And Maldonado gets the deep center to win the ball game.
right field. Carter to the wall. Grand slam, Lonnie Smith. Maldonado with a high fly ball to deep left field. Sanders back to the warning track, to the wall. It's a home run. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.
CTV News tonight, making your world makes.
Presenting the new Jeep. Here's the inside. Here's the outside. The bottom. The top. Here it is by itself. Here it is with its competition.
Since 1899, the heart of good cooking has always remained the same. Carnation evaporated milk.
Ms. Robertson,
Michael.
what's this I heard about you retiring?
Retiring, I wish. No, Michael, but I am taking a year off.
Oh, it must be great.
Yeah, well, I've always dreamed about studying archaeology when I retired, but that's 10 years away. So I have decided I am doing it now.
You win the lottery?
Creative financing. Oh, I have enough money for my retirement, but I don't want to touch that. So about 8 months ago, I told the bank what I wanted to do, and we have worked it out.
Wow, that's great, but where are you going to go to school?
Jungle U. To dig in South America.
If you have a dream, there's a way to get it. Let us help. With personal banking, we have the tools to get you there. We're changing. We're CIBC. Get us working for you.
CFTO TV Channel 9 in Toronto.
Nixon bunts. Kimlin on it. Throws to first. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.
A place in history. The Blue Jays seal it in 6.
CTV News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Good evening. Well, we can all exhale now. The Blue Jays have done their patriotic duty and won baseball's World Series. For years, Canadians will be talking about these heroes from Minnesota, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic who wear the little bird and the maple leaf on their caps. After 16 tantalizing years of existence, the Jays made history as the first team from outside the United States to win baseball's greatest prize. It was a nail-biter of a game that went into extra innings. Dave Winfield got the game-winning hit in the top of the 11th inning, a double that scored 2 runs, and then in the bottom of the inning, pitcher Mike Timlin fielded a bunt and threw out Otis Nixon for the 3rd out and a final score of 4-3. The Blue Jays win the series in 6 games. And joining us now in Toronto, at the final out, fans erupted into Toronto's main drag, Yonge Street, and our man Peter Murphy was swept along with them. I'm not quite sure which intersection he's at, but it does look a bit like Young and Delirious. Peter, are you there?
Sandy, I am here, and this town has exploded in just tremendous celebration The Blue Jays made history on the baseball field in Atlanta tonight, and I must say that Torontonians are celebrating that, and they're making history themselves.
Now, you're standing on top of the satellite truck, aren't you?
Been closed off. Even before the end of the game, they were celebrating, and there was a lot of people running around and streaming, and but within minutes of the Blue Jays winning the World Series, we saw the tens of thousands of people descending on downtown Toronto streets. Most of Yonge Street is in the downtown area is all closed off. Many other streets are just packed with revelers, people shaking Canadian flags, yelling and screaming, Blue Jays are #1.
Peter, can you hear me?
This party is going to go on for a long time, Sandy.
Okay, I can tell by the noise that you're having a difficult time hearing me, but what happens next for the Jays? When are they coming home?
Sandy, they should be coming home sometime tomorrow afternoon, early tomorrow afternoon. And there'll be a big celebration at the airport, probably around 2 o'clock. And we then can expect on Monday at 1 o'clock a short parade downtown from the Royal York to the SkyDome. And the SkyDome, there'll be a big celebration, a big party we expect around 1 o'clock. And again, the SkyDome this evening was packed with 45,000 screaming fans. And they're all out here behind me screaming tonight, I can tell you.
Okay, Peter.
And, they should be down Monday morning, or Monday at 1 o'clock, celebrating the Blue Jays win.
All right, well, watch out for yourself then, Peter. Thank you. It wasn't, of course, just a Toronto celebration. Far from it. Blue Jays fans whooped it up from coast to coast. It was well into Sunday morning in St. John's when the celebrating broke out at the Dugout Bar. In Edmonton, the action was at the Bleachers Bar and Grill. Okay, Vancouver is elsewhere. There were house parties everywhere to watch the game and to celebrate that victory. What can you say after all of that? Well, there is more news to come, and we'll be back in a minute with Mulrooney's Last Stand.
The Prime Minister wraps up his Yes campaign.
I think we're going to win, and so I'm quite happy.
Is the prediction realistic?
It was early in the day with all systems A-OK.
Which control? What's that noise?
This is control. That was Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Say again?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
What's in it?
That's 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins and whole grain flakes with bran.
They were all set to go, but he just had to know.
How many scoops?
2 scoops of raisins in a package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Stop the engine.
Where's that Kellogg's Raisin Bran? If you depend on your truck to last, here's news you should never forget. Of all the Chevy trucks built in the last 10 years, 98% are still going strong. That's higher than Dodge, higher than Ford, even higher than Toyota. Over the years, no other truck line is that dependable, foreign or domestic. Only Chevrolet. The most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
Prime Minister Mulroney headed into the heart of reform country on the prairies today, then winding up his Yes campaign in the West. Mulroney used his rhetorical big guns against reform leader Preston Manning. CTV's Ken Ernhofer reports from Lloydminster.
Lloydminster is a town with a difference. On one side of a yellow line down 50th Avenue, you're in Alberta. But just cross the street and you're in Saskatchewan, a geographically divided town, where Prime Minister Mulroney wrapped up his unity campaign with a head-on attack geared for the West, targeting Preston Manning. Mulroney seized on reports the Reform Party leader first planned to support the Yes and then switched sides on the advice of an American pollster.
And repent. It's time for you to repent, Preston. Come back into the tent. We will accept you, even though it's late.
Mulroney says Manning is appealing to base instincts and adds labeling the accord the Mulroney deal. with Saskatchewan Premier Romano at his side. Mulrooney charged that Manning's move, if successful, will kill the Triple E Senate that the West wants.
You're either for it or against it. This is important for Canada's unity, and you don't look to start scoring cheap points like he's doing with the Mulrooney deal and all the things that he's being repudiated for by his own party.
It's fraudulent. I don't want to be too personal about him, but when he says, as the reports indicate, that he wanted to go yes, and then for partisan political reasons is going no, I say that's putting politics ahead of Canada.
The constitutional bucking hasn't been easy on people here, an area where Reform Party inroads have thrown other parties into a tizzy. Many people admit they're leaning towards voting no.
It's the deal, yeah. That's all I'm voting on is the deal, and I don't like the deal.
But many no-leaners also admit they don't know where they'll land on voting day.
Maybe I haven't looked fully into it like I should either. I should do a little bit more reading on it before I decide.
Undecideds like that are just the group the yes side is after. Mulrooney's chief of staff says government polls show 40% of Canadians are undecided, and other polls showing a lower rate miscalculate the referendum's emotional nature.
People are leaving the decision until the very end. They are profoundly troubled by what to do, and we believe in the end Canadians are going to want to vote yes.
I think we're going to win, and so I'm quite happy.
Despite coming under heavy criticism during the referendum campaign, Mulrooney indicated he would have done nothing differently, and he's certain Canadians will prove him right. Ken Ernhofer, CTV News, Lloydminster.
And tonight, after landing in Gatineau, Quebec, the Prime Minister concluded the Yes campaign. He made one final appeal to Canadians to think hard about the way they vote.
When they're spending time over the weekend thinking about the 26th, I ask them to take a little time to think about the 27th and all of the 27ths thereafter. Because with a no, it brings only uncertainty and the knowledge that the difficulties will be perpetuated and our children will not have an alternative vision, a generous alternative vision of a future.
In Winnipeg, Preston Manning ignored the Prime Minister's call to repent. In fact, the Reform Party leader called on Canadians to reject the Charlottetown Accord. And he told delegates to the party's annual convention the best vote would be a no from all of Canada, not just Quebec. Mark Sickstrom reports.
Preston Manning used his keynote speech at the convention to make one last reassuring pitch for the no side.
Despite the dire predictions of the Prime Minister earlier in the referendum campaign, a no vote will not cause the disintegration of Canada at 12 o'clock midnight on October 26th at 12:30 in Newfoundland.
Manning went on to say that the best no result would be one that came from a large number of provinces.
If Canadians are going to vote no, a strong and a general no across the country would send a clear and more certain signal to our political leaders and the international community than would a patchwork no.
Manning has shrugged off charges that his no position is rooted in partisan politics, not principle. At a news conference, he called those charges acts of desperation by a losing side.
They are losing, and they're losing their credibility in Alberta, and I think there's a certain amount of bitterness, and they undoubtedly feel that that's unjustified and unfair, and they're lashing out at the people they consider responsible.
The Reform Party believes the no side has the edge going into Monday's referendum. But Manning is also aware that a lot depends on the undecided and the lukewarm vote, which is why he exhorted his followers not to let up in their push of the no campaign in these final days. Mark Sickstrom, CTV News, Winnipeg.
In Quebec today, the yes and no forces wound up their battle over the Charlottetown Accord. Quebec Premier Robert Bourassa was on the offensive, blasting former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau and Parti Québécois leader Jacques Parizeau. David Kyle reports.
Robert Bourassa briefly turned his attention away from the Quebec campaign to make a direct appeal to English Canada. History will be made Monday, he says, and all Canadians should carefully consider the impact their no vote could have on Quebec.
Now I'm talking to English Canada, because in voting no, they are saying to Quebec, we want to keep the Constitution of 1882. This is applicable to them too. And voting no, they are saying we approve Trudeau, when he was imposing the Constitution of Quebec. And that will not help.
Bourassa says the Charlottetown Accord serves to correct that injustice, but his lesson in recent Canadian history could simply remind English Canadians of the former Prime Minister's disdain for the deal.
We've been there before, you know.
Jacques Parizeau wrapped up his campaign confidently looking forward to life after a no vote.
I've always wanted to put the Constitution aside. In fact, I'm in politics to put the Canadian Constitution aside. That's what I've been trying to do for 20 years.
The final poll of the Quebec campaign was published today, showing the no side ahead by 21 points. Premier Bourassa no longer sounds convinced when he says he's still confident. In the past 2 days, he's shifted the focus of his attacks from the Parti Québécois to Pierre Trudeau in a last-minute attempt to try and get the Yes campaign back on track. David Kyle, CTV News, Montreal.
Well, now, the Blue Jays don't win the World Series every day, so let's go down to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, where CTV's Joy Melvin is standing by. Joy, not just any day. I bet, you know, you've had a little time to do some reading. No. What's it like down there now?
Sandy, I'm on the field right now where history was made, where Canadians went to the World Series. And as they say, it doesn't get much better than this. The fans went wild. You saw them in SkyDome, and the fans went wild here, the ones that came all the way down to Atlanta. And for the Blue Jays, they've come a long, long way. The team has been consistent. They fought back, and boy, was this an incredible game and an incredible series. Both teams were evenly matched, and what can I say? They won.
All right, now let's talk about Atlanta fans for a minute. How are they taking the loss?
Well, Atlanta fans were crying in their soupa today, but they also said this has been a very good series. It's been a good season for the Braves. They've come twice so close. But a lot of them admit that, you know, not the best team doesn't always win, but sometimes the team that plays the best does.
All right, well, you and I are not sports analysts, but let's take a shot at this. Can we say what it is about the team this year that made it such a champion team?
I think the team really acted just that. They had a captain this time, Dave Winfield, who rallied some of the younger players, but they also rallied the fans. I mean, 4 million fans, that's absolutely incredible. The team had confidence this time, and many people have said that the team has finally grown up and that they've shaken off this choke factor, this nickname, the Blow Jays, and nobody can throw that at them again.
Okay, Joy Melvin, thanks very much. Still ahead in this newscast, taking aim at gun controls.
September 30th, I could take this out and I could shoot tin cans to my heart's content. October 1st, I'm now a criminal.
One man's gun battle.
Presenting the new Jeep. Here's the inside. Here's the outside. The bottom. The top. Here it is by itself. Here it is with its competition.
Buying 100% Colombian coffee can be tricky if you don't know what to look for, because some coffee is only part Colombian, and some coffee isn't any part Colombian. So how can you be sure you're getting the richest coffee in the world? Always look for Juan Valdez. He'll only be on brands that are 100% Colombian coffee, the richest coffee in the world. Look for the symbol of Juan Valdez on brands like Taster's Choice, 100% Colombian coffee.
Good evening. 45,000 people packed SkyDome tonight to watch the Jays on TV.
2 adults and a small child were taken to hospital after a pumpkin crashed into their windshield.
And a night of blackjack at the St. Lawrence Market. Details on Night Beat.
We know headaches,
The worst headache.
so we use Anacin. Used it for years.
Because Anacin is strong enough for our worst headaches. And mine too.
It is so big, you can't see it. It's so efficient, you never even have to think about it. It's just there, wherever and whenever you need it. It's Cantel, Canada's only national cellular network. And because it's everywhere, using cellular anywhere is as easy as it should be. To find out how, just call us. Cantel, making today better for you.
When babies teethe, their little mouths go through big pains. But Baby Andesol stops teething pain on contact. Baby Andesol. It's first aid for baby's first teeth.
Canada has recently toughened up already strict gun controls, a move which has angered gun collectors into fighting back. Alberta is home to some of the strongest opposition, and at a gun show in Edmonton today, one man fired up a legal challenge that could go all the way to the Supreme Court. Bob Makachuk reports.
Millions of Canadians own guns, but some gun collectors say new laws will turn them into common criminals.
September 30th, I could take this out and I could shoot tin cans to my heart's content. October 1st, I'm now a criminal. If I take this out, I'm breaking the law. It's in the same
Ted
class.
Zimmerman bought this civilian version of a French assault rifle 5 years ago. It was legal then, but new regulations ban military-style rifles.
But they've decided because it's black and has a pistol grip that is prohibited, which means I will get no compensation. I either weld it up and it's a boat anchor, or I turn it in for destruction.
Hundreds of weapons have been turned into police since the new regulations came into effect. Instead of surrendering, Zimmerman is fighting. Openly displaying his gun, he plans to use the courts to challenge the law, arguing Alberta's Bill of Rights and the Federal Charter of Rights protect the ownership of his property. The police disagree. As he expected, officers moved in to seize the gun.
Proliferation of certain types of weapons can be a problem, and is a concern not only of the police agencies, but I think to most people in general.
It's a case of I'm guilty not for what I've done, but for what I am. That's reminiscent of Germany in World War II with the Jews.
What they've done is use the criminal code to confiscate private property without payment and without criminal charges through the Criminal Code of Canada.
Canada's largest gun lobby group is supporting Zimmerman. It hopes to scuttle the new regulations in court after failing to kill the gun control bill in Parliament last year.
As confident as the National Firearms Association seems, it's hedging its bets with a number of test cases challenging Ottawa's gun control law. Similar court action will begin in British Columbia next month. Bob Makachuk, CTV News, Edmonton.
There is a North American pastime that few people know about. It's peaceful, it's scenic, and it can be thrilling. So what's the big secret? It's also illegal, but that doesn't stop a small group of ordinary people, including families, from climbing aboard. W5's Christine Nielsen reports.
They're called rail riders. Their mission to boldly go where only trains have gone before. But don't expect to spot them next time you're standing at the station. What they're doing is against the law, so they ride the railroad company's tracks, unannounced and uninvited.
It's a thrill. It's fun. We do like the outdoors, and it is one way of getting to places where, nobody else really gets to,
And you're not likely to meet any other rail bikers at, say, cocktail parties.
People have been riding the rails since the first spike, on contraptions like this early track inspector's vehicle. And in the early days of wood-burning steam engines, this fireman with corn broom and water bucket followed the train to beat out any brush fires. In 1902, the Sears Roebuck catalog offered a rail cycle conversion kit for less than $6. Here's the rail biker's worst nightmare, 150 tons of locomotive that takes 2 kilometers to stop. No one's ever been killed rail riding, but it's obvious bikes and trains don't mix. When we were with Richard Smart on a little used track in Idaho, a Union Pacific freight train rounded the bend unannounced. We jumped clear. Richard Smart was half a mile farther down the track. When they heard that whistle, they hauled their bikes off in about 2 seconds flat. I mean, isn't this exactly what the railroads worry about?
Oh, yeah. You got to know what you're doing. We knew it was up on Tuesday, back on Wednesday. We were off a minute before he came.
That hardly pacifies the rail companies. For 10 years, they've sent Dr. Smart nasty letters, reminding him it's illegal to trespass on their tracks. Christine Nielsen, CTV News.
Watch for more on the rail riders on the next W5. And just briefly in international news, a powerful earthquake shook the former Soviet Republic of Georgia today. Buildings swayed and crumbled, causing panic in the capital of Tbilisi, 100 kilometers from the epicenter. Officials say there are casualties, but they've been unable to give any specifics. The quake measured 6.7 on the Richter scale. And when we return, we'll go back to the ballpark for another look at this glorious day in Canadian sports history.
Any major purchase involves a leap of faith. Buy a Nissan and it doesn't have to. You're protected by the Nissan Satisfaction Commitment. The most comprehensive customer care program in Canada. It comes at no extra cost and has no deductible. Because at Nissan, we believe warranty should protect the people who drive the cars, not the people who make them. Nissan, built for the human race.
For over 45 years, millions of Canadians have relied on them to build their future. Once again, this fall, it's time for Canada Savings Bonds. They're safe, secure, and offer peace of mind with a competitive rate of interest. Plan for tomorrow with a bond you can count on. Canada Savings Bonds. Buy yours by Monday, November 2nd.
Gao is sound. Gao is motion. Gao is color. Gao is light. Gao is black. The television of choice in Japan, with a better picture, a better sound, and a sleeker design. Gao is now in Canada from Panasonic.
And we go back now to Atlanta, where CTV's Joy Malbon is standing by. Joy, what does this mean for Canada to win in the United States as opposed to back here at home at the SkyDome?
Well, it's a little disappointing, but I think the Blue Jays, they would have preferred to win it back home at the SkyDome. But, you know, this team has consistently broken records ever since the World Series began. In fact, just winning tonight on American soil, they've broken another record. The team has gone all the way. They put a lot of guts, a lot of emotion into it. It's absolutely incredible.
Now, it is just possible that next season we may have a very different team.
A very different team. There are 6 or 7 players that are going to be going to free agency, and Dave Winfield, he's discussing his contract right now. But I think a different team in the emotional sense. The team has gone through this choke factor thing for the longest time, and just getting to the World Series would have been enough. But to win all the way and to win here is absolutely incredible.
Now, this is indeed a special day for the Blue Jays, as it is for us. Do you think the Jays have a sense of how important this is to Canadians?
I think they do. Even though most of them are Americans, they realize that they've got a whole country rooting behind them. Not a region, not a state like other ball teams, but an entire country that have been cheering them on ever since day one. And they realize that. And the interesting thing is, once in a while, you'll see a little bit of them singing the national anthem. So they may not be Canadian, but they're honorary Canadians.
All right, Joy, we'll let you go to do some of your celebrating, as we intend to do on our end. A glorious day in Canadian sports history for us and for the Toronto Blue Jays. And before we leave you, some CTV program notes for tomorrow. On Question Period, Craig Oliver talks with 2 major hitters of the referendum campaign, Unity Minister Joe Clark, and from the no side, Deborah Coyne. And on CTV News, we'll have the latest developments on the eve of Canada's referendum. That's all the time we have for now. We're going to have many stories for you tomorrow night. By the way, don't forget to set your clocks back 1 hour tonight. Standard Time goes into effect at 2 a.m., with the exception of Saskatchewan, which is always on Standard Time. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Good night from all of us here at CTV News. Thank you for joining us on this glorious day in Canadian sports history. We'll see you tomorrow.
Towards 2000, brought to you by Volkswagen.
Resource
resources and more recently machines have been the main fuel for economic growth. But in the 90s, business is turning to new sources, its own people, and to a new economic fuel, their ideas.
Liftoff.
Space travel has symbolized this century's obsession with big science.
Science is probably overestimated, and that's the cumulative nature of small discoveries by the worker on the factory line or the clerks at the front, the operators at the front line dealing with people and processes. It's those things that ultimately add up to economic progress.
So the trend in business today is to empower people, to listen to their ideas.
And we have a problem-solving meeting on the...
Businesses are building teams, flattening organizational structures, inviting suggestions.
When you don't have an empowered company and you don't listen to your employees, you cannot listen to a lot of the problems that happen.
From the shop floor to the boardroom, listening to people's ideas may be revolutionizing an assembly line mentality.
When we look back on what was going on during the 90s, I think we'll decide that the change in systems of organization, systems of production that's taking place now is as important as the change that took place with the introduction of mass production by Henry Ford.
The Japanese are better team builders, but this is more than just chasing the Japanese model. Old-style management structures don't work in an information revolution.
Toward the turn of the century, the world knowledge base will be doubling every 18 months. That's the sort of accelerated pace of change that will require us to change en route.
In a society that so often worships machines, it is comforting to know that in the 90s we are starting to value ideas and individuals.
I have to tell you, I feel a little silly here.
Yeah, well, I feel a little silly, too.
Good.
What time is good for you?
7:30?
7:30, perfect.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
How will I know who you are?
Well, actually, I'll be the guy with the Volkswagen.
Oh, great. That makes it easy.
Okay.
Terrific. I'll see you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Make no mistake about it. The Passat. It is a Volkswagen.
Goldhawk Fights Back starts November 9th on CTV News.
Loretta Boulay, receptionist, condition, headache.
Here it's throbbing, and sometimes it even hurts to turn my head.
Do you think Tylenol would work?
I don't know how it works because I've never tried it.
Clinical studies prove Tylenol has the strength to deliver really effective relief, yet it won't upset your stomach. How do you feel?
My headache's gone, everything. Tylenol caplets did not upset my stomach. On my way home, I will buy a bottle of Tylenol caplets.
Hi, Bell Mobility. Hey, I love that new name. Look, I'm expecting a very important phone call. Now, are you sure I can be reached anywhere? She hasn't called yet, but I left her 200, maybe 300 messages. Now, if I'm in my car, I've got my cellular phone, right? If I'm just walking around, I can clip the pager to my belt. Now, if I'm in a plane, yeah, right, I can use your airphone to call. Now, what happens if I'm downtown, I'm not in a car, I'm not in a plane, and for argument's sake, I'm not wearing any clothes? Well, but can I still be reached in prison?
CFTO TV, Channel 9, Toronto. Nightbeat News with Beverly Thompson and Bill Hutchison.
Good evening, or rather good morning. Celebrations are well underway across Metro tonight, this morning as baseball fans revel in Canada's first World Series win. Beverly?
The Blue Jays' 4-3 victory over the Braves has set off victory parties both inside and out. Before the game was even finished tonight, set to celebrate a first-ever World Series win for Canada's team.
I'm hearing it now.
And there was a huge party earlier this evening at the SkyDome where 45,551 fans crowded in. They didn't have to pay admission. They made donations to United Way. Let's have a look at the scene there as the Jays won the World Series. and the fans poured onto the field. Police said there were only a few minor incidents as some fans got out of hand. The fans then poured out of the SkyDome. They went up Yonge Street. Many streets downtown have now been shut down or are thoroughly blocked. Yonge Street apparently is blocked all the way up to the 401 with fans on the street, cars on the street, horns honking. The fans are just going crazy downtown. And we have Peter Murphy, CTV's Peter Murphy, standing by live on Yonge Street. Peter, can you tell us what the scene is there?
Speak, never mind think. You saw the scene at the SkyDome. There were 45,000 people just going nuts. Well, they and about another 45,000 people are on Yonge Street. They've closed off Yonge Street. We're at Elm, just up from A&A and Sam's. It's closed off. I'm looking down the street, Bay, University, all of the side streets. It's absolutely nuts here. People are dancing in the streets, yelling and screaming. People are standing on light standards, on roofs. It's just one great, big, mad party. Bill, I've never seen anything like it. Now, there were some incidents earlier. There were some windows that were broken. We heard some just behind me, some windows that were broken. But I must say that there are so many people on Yonge Street, it's a wonder that people aren't being pushed through the windows. There is a large police presence here. It's generally a fairly happy, excited crowd. But I can say that you'd need 100,000 police to keep this crowd in control. Basically, it's a happy crowd, and this party has just begun. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's going to be going on for a long time. Back to you, going back.
Thank you very much, Peter. And of course, the clocks are going back an hour, so there's an extra hour to celebrate tonight. We go to CFTO's Tom Hayes, who's live in Atlanta. Tom, you're probably the loneliest guy in Atlanta tonight. It doesn't look like too many people are in Fulton County Stadium celebrating with you.
Bill, it's not as rowdy here right now, but we are standing in the Field of Dreams where the Jays captured their first World Series. This was just an unbelievable night to be in Atlanta. One personally I will never forget. I was sitting about 5 feet from the players' wives when Dave Winfield hit that double to score 2 runs. Mrs. Winfield, Tanya Winfield, broke down and cried at that moment. And when the Jays captured the World Series, the wives went crazy. Mrs. Winfield, your husband did it. He did it.
He did it. All those guys did it. They should be so proud of themselves, because we sure are, I tell you.
How do you feel?
This is the greatest thing, I tell you. You never know how you're going to feel when you see it happen. But we never gave up hope, and it is just so great. I'm so proud of them. I know the fans are, too.
How do you feel?
Thank you, God. That's all I have to say. I feel great, great, great.
How do you feel?
Unbelievable. You can't even describe it. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just unreal.
Did you believe it would have been a better story than this?
No. Only if it had win 7 games, and I definitely didn't want it to go 7 games.
It looked like you were praying at one point.
I'm doing a lot of that. We did it. We got a bunch of good guys, so I had faith.
I'm joined now by my wet colleague, Sunil Joshi, after his champagne shower. I understand the players are arriving home around 2 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes, the team is arriving tomorrow afternoon, but security personnel at Pearson International are imploring people not to go because they do not think they can handle the overflow at Pearson, which is where the team will arrive. So there will be a celebration for you fans and the team later, probably Monday or Tuesday at SkyDome. So if you can just hang on a day or two, I'm sure the folks at Pearson would appreciate it. Now, I could stand here and tell you about what it was like on the final out and the final game and the final hit. Peter LeClaire, our cameraman, was right in the middle of it. So let's take a look at that video and listen to the heroes of Game 6.
I'm going to give the Braves a lot of credit. It was a hell of a series.
They fought and clawed and scratched, and we had to use our best to beat them.
What is it, David? Mission accomplished?
Mission accomplished.
We've been fighting for it, since we came into the league, and now we're here. We built the team to do it, and we did it. The people in Toronto are going crazy. It's a subtle crazy, but they're going crazy, and we're happy for them. We're just glad we brought them a championship. This is unbelievable. It really is. Thanks, Joe.
Well, that's the celebration as far as the field was concerned. When I come back with George Bryson a little later in sports, we'll move the celebration indoor and speak to some people for whom this victory means a lot, especially remembering 85, 89, and 91. Let's go back to you, Bev and Bill.
Thanks, Anil. Finally, official celebrations planned earlier this week will get underway on Monday, beginning with a victory parade. The parade will take about 30 minutes to travel. It will start from Front in York, travel north on York Street to Wellington, west on Wellington to Peter Street, and south on Peter Street, around the Dome, and inside where the festivities will take place.
In other news tonight, a 16-year-old is in critical condition.
88 and slow out of the gate. Toronto opened just 9-13 in the month of April, but the season opener was one to remember. The Jays defeated Kansas City 5-3 thanks to George Bell's 3 home runs, an opening day record. Dave Steve was 16-8. That doesn't do him justice. He had 3 one-hitters that year and lost 2 no-hitters in the 9th inning. Fred McGriff's first year as the everyday first baseman saw him clout 34 home runs. He drove in 82. And Kelly Gruber became the regular third baseman. He hit 16 home runs and had 81 RBIs. Dwayne Ward establishing himself as a bullpen force with 9 wins and 15 saves. The Jays were 11.5 games out of first at the All-Star break, but they rebounded by going 45-29 after that to finish in 3rd place, 2 games back of Boston.
Fiberglass pink home insulation. Environmentally friendly. Do it right. Do it pink.
Do you want your pizza quick? Or would you really rather have it good and quick? Domino's Pizza. Good and quick. Quick and good. Experience the quality of Domino's Pizza.
We believe the last thing the world needs is another car. So we built one, the Nissan Altima. Because we knew we could build a car we could live with. A car as safe for those who would drive it as those who would not. And because we believe your money has the right to go far. The new Nissan Altima, built for the human race.
Travelers 50 and over save 30% at choice hotels like Quality, Comfort, Clarion, and Sleep.
After a life like
Time out, Evil. Travelers 50 and over also get a free coupon book worth over $1,000 at places like Alamo, Rent-A-Car, Red Lobster, and theme parks. Okay, Evil, from the top.
After a life like mine, that's about the biggest thrill I could take.
Save 30% if you're 50 or over and get a free coupon book. Call 1-800-4CHOICE and reserve your room today.
When you're looking for the best insulation for your home, remember, not all insulation is the same. Watch out for imposters. Do it right. Do it pink.
All this month, get a great deal on 2 great tasting pizzas. Domino's Doubles. 2 pizzas, 3 toppings, 1 great price. Experience the deal.
A year of changes. The first change came on May the 15th. The Jays were 12-24, and manager Jimmy Williams got the axe. Cito Gaston was appointed interim manager, and he got the full-time title on May the 31st. The next big change came on June the 5th, when the Jays moved to their new home, the beautiful SkyDome. Toronto ended up losing the Dome opener to the Brewers, but they played well enough to close the gap on the front runners to 4 games by the end of July. Early in August, the Jays changed their chemistry by acquiring Mookie Wilson and Lee Mazzilli from the Mets. Both players, especially Mookie, were spark plugs that helped the Jays win their second AL East title when they defeated Baltimore on the second last day of the season. From there, it was on to the American League Championship Series against a powerful Oakland team. The Jays were simply outmatched against an A's team that featured Ricky Henderson and Jose Canseco, who hit one of the most memorable home runs ever hit at the SkyDome. It is not just Toronto's celebration, but Canada's celebration at this hour. It's about 20 after 2 Eastern Time in Toronto, where the celebration continues. Only about 20 after 12 in Edmonton. The night is young. The celebration continues, and let's go to Ken Chillivack.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. The night is young, but as you can see behind me, things starting to clear out at the Westin Hotel in downtown Edmonton. We've been here since the start of the game. Started off very quiet, and of course, as the game progressed, things got really crazy at the end. They had a party next door. Everyone was in this little bar here to celebrate the Blue Jays championship. Now people starting to drift on out. I was talking to some of the people in here about outside. There's actually people going down Jasper Avenue in downtown Edmonton, honking their horns, bumper to bumper, not like maybe when they'd win a Stanley Cup in this city, but having a good time, celebrating what is the first for Canada. And I think that's very important for these people. Everybody I talked to throughout this city in the last couple of weeks, we're talking the same thing. Let's go Blue Jays. They didn't care they're from Toronto, wherever. They were supporting this team. Whether it brings this country together, I guess we'll wait and see in the next few days, but we can just hope that that'll come out. It's a very important victory for obviously the Toronto Blue Jays, and maybe even more so for this country of Canada. Paul, back to you in Toronto. It's a great day here.
All right, thanks, Ken. Ken alluding to the Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup championships, of course, and no real Wayne Gretzky on this Toronto team, although a number of tremendous stars on the club. We have lots more reaction coming from Atlanta. Buck Martinez and Rod Smith trolling down there for interviews. Let's go back down to Atlanta and here's some more post-game reaction.
Pat Gillick, this is the culmination of all your efforts. You have to be pretty pleased with what went on here tonight.
Well, yes, we are, I think, Buck. Pleased for the players, for everyone connect with the organization. I know, the guys that were here before, like yourself and Ernie Witt, Otto Velez, Mosby, Barfield, all the guys were here before. I know that, we didn't get it done in '85 and wish we had of, but we have a couple other, kicks at the cat, but finally we got it done here tonight. It wasn't easy. It looks like we played almost till 2 o'clock so we could turn the clock back to 1 o'clock.
I tell you, what about the depth of your bullpen? They keep marching out there and putting up zeros.
I was just hoping that we could get out of the ninth inning. I thought if we could get out of the ninth inning with a tie score, we would beat them because our bullpen is stronger than theirs. And we were fortunate enough to get out of the ninth inning and then go a couple innings and win it. So, again, the bullpen comes through.
You've seen Dave Winfield come through with just about all year long. What about the double he picked up there?
Well, I had a funny feeling that he was going to, I don't know what the pitch was. It looked like it may be a fastball on the inside. And I thought Charlie might be coming in trying to jam him, and Dave was ready. And, it was a great hit to see. And I'm just glad because I know it was Dave's first extra base hit in World Series competition.
It looked like Cito saw everything in slow motion. He was making the pitching moves. He got the pinch hitters up there when he was right on, and he got the matchups he liked throughout the whole series.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that Cito did a great job. And as far as, National American League thing, he used David Wells, he used Stottlemyre, he used Timlin, he used Eichhorn, Henke Ward, the whole bullpen. And as I say, we still had pinch hitters left, and I think probably when Hunter hit, they were probably down their last man with Lopez, the catcher.
Great win. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Buck.
You heard Pat make reference to Dave Winfield and the outstanding play he put together. Maybe he was close to sort of being a Wayne Gretzky-type leader, as Gretzky was at the Oilers, being that kind of a leader with the Toronto Blue Jays. Believe it or not, in his long and storied career, Dave Winfield only in postseason play for the second time. The last time was all the way back in 1981, so in many ways, he was saying before this all started, he was a rookie to postseason play. It had been such a long time. The celebration continues out in the street. Here's Vic Rauter.
Well, Paul, the party, as you can tell, has continued very loud and strong down here on Yonge Street. They say farther down, away from us, towards the Eaton Center, they are shoulder to shoulder. And in fact, we've heard of a couple of incidents of people getting hurt, people getting just a little carried away, climbing up trees to wave Blue Jay banners and finding that the way down is a little more difficult. But for the most part, this party has gone very, very well, and that's what the police expected. And they also expect it to carry on for several more hours yet, to maybe sunup. And don't forget, with the clocks going back, that means an extra hour to party. Paul?
Yeah, I guess tonight's the night you want to have that really expensive car parked right down in the middle of downtown Toronto. No, wouldn't be that kind of night. Not at all. Just some numbers on Dave Winfield, by the way. I was talking about him a few moments ago. He ended up going 5 for 22 in the series. He went 1 for 5 tonight. And, of course, you will no doubt remember that one huge hit. Another veteran and a big part of this Toronto Blue Jays team, certainly on the bench and keeping emotions up, Rance Mullenix. He is standing by as we go back to Atlanta.
Rance, it's been a long time. You've been waiting for this a long time. I know this still means a lot, even though you didn't have a chance to participate an awful lot. You put in a lot of good years with this ball club, and this has to be satisfying for you.
Well, thank you. It is. It's very satisfying. You know, this is what it's all about. This is what you play for. And, you know, I just feel very fortunate to have been associated with this club. How you doing now? For a long, long time, and to end up playing on a world championship team, it's just fabulous. And I'd like to take the opportunity to say to all the fans throughout all of Canada and the city of Toronto that it's great. We're glad to bring a world championship home to you. Very deserving. And I know you're having a great time back in Canada tonight. And we'll see you tomorrow. We're looking forward to flying back up there and seeing all our fans. Thanks for the support. I feel very fortunate to have been a part of this. And enjoy it. Have a great time. You deserve it.
Rance Mullenix's biggest year at the Blue Jays was 1984. He hit .324 that year. He has contributed a lot to the organization over the years. The celebration continues in Toronto and across Canada as they celebrate the first Canadian-based World Series champions. We'll be back after this. 1990, a year when good enough wasn't good enough. The Jays spent time in first place in every month of the season except August, before eventually settling for second spot, 2 games behind Boston. Dave Stieb had another superlative season, going 18-6 with a 2.93 earned run average. His greatest moment that year came on September the 2nd in Cleveland when he finally pitched that elusive no-hitter, the first and only no-hitter in franchise history. Kelly Gruber had his best season, hitting 31 home runs, driving in 118, and appearing in the All-Star game. He also received a Golden Glove Award. 1990 also saw John Olerud become just the 16th player since the start of the amateur draft to make his pro debut at the major league level.
I've got the key to the highway, built out and bound to go.
When you're a long way from home,
because you haven't done nothing but
got no shirt on your back,
a good man away from home,
and no roof over your head. Yeah, that's the blues.
Domino's Pizza may very well be the best tasting pizza in the whole world. Experience the taste, delivered in 30 minutes or less. Guaranteed.
Peep, 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 peep. Fiberglass pink insulates against noise when you don't want to hear a peep or a pin drop.
Reserve a room at any choice hotel like Quality, Comfort, Clarion, and Sleep, and get this fabulous coupon book absolutely free. You'll save at places like Alamo Rent-A-Car, Red Lobster, and theme parks, a value of over $1,000. So call and reserve your room today.
Bye-bye.
Vanna White not included. Oh. Call 1-800-4CHOICE to reserve your room. Coupon book supplies are limited, so call today.
Any major purchase involves a leap of faith. Buy a Nissan and it doesn't have to. You're protected by the Nissan Satisfaction Commitment. The most comprehensive customer care program in Canada. It comes at no extra cost and has no deductibles. Because at Nissan, we believe warranty should protect the people who drive the cars, not the people who make them. Nissan, built for the human race.
Baseball Tonight, 16 Years to Glory is brought to you by Labatt's Blue, honest and true, you bet it's blue. By Nissan, built for the human race. By Choice Hotels, who congratulate the Toronto Blue Jays on their historic World Championship. By Domino's Pizza, favorite pizza of the Toronto Blue Jays. And by Fiberglass Canada, an Owens Corning company.
(1991), and changes were needed, so the Jays' brain trust decided, so changes were made in a big way. The biggest trade in team history, sending mainstays Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez to San Diego for slugger Joe Carter and second baseman Robbie Alomar. They also acquired center fielder Devon White from the Angels. And all three quickly became fan favorites at the SkyDome. Carter continued to produce at the plate with 33 home runs and 108 RBIs. White and Alomar earned Gold Gloves while providing sparks at the top of the order. The two combined for 129 RBIs, 86 stolen bases, 198 runs scored. An injury to Dave Steve in late May forced the Jays to call up Juan Guzman from Syracuse. He responded with a team record 10 straight wins and a 2.99 earned run average. The Jays would eventually win the East that year with a dramatic ninth-inning rally against California that sounded like this.
Winning run on third. Base hit. Blue Jays win the East. Let the celebration begin.
Taking that momentum into the ALCS, the Jays split the first two games against the Twins in Minnesota, but the Twins came back to sweep 3 at the SkyDome. The Blue Jays' dream of a World Series put on hold for one more year. And back to Atlanta now live for some final thoughts from Buck Martinez, who's covered this team for the last few years and certainly all season long. And Buck, if you could maybe just reminisce a little bit, does it really seem like that long ago that this team was taking its first step into championship series play in 1985?
No, it doesn't, Paul, and it's interesting to compare this team with other organizations that have been in the league for a lot longer and the expansion teams that came in with Toronto. They have done a marvelous job of developing an organization, marketing the product, and making sure they keep bringing in character-type people. You talked about the big trade, Tony Fernandez, Fred McGriff, 2 all-star players, but you brought in Robbie Alomar and Joe Carter. Basically, that may have been the turning point in this organization. They have always been capable of winning, but it was that last little ingredient of character that continued into deals in 1992 with Dave Winfield and Jack Morris, and then finally David Cohn. So give credit to Pat Gillick, give credit to Cito Gaston. They have put in a lot of long, hard hours starting in spring training right on through the season, and tonight they can now celebrate and enjoy and relish the fact that they're the world's champions.
All right, Buck, and the question is, how much will the character of this team change next year? Some very big decisions to be made in terms of personnel for this team in the next few days, as a matter of fact.
Well, that's right. They've got to make some tough decisions in the next couple of days. First of all, with Maldonado and Dave Winfield, whether or not they extend them arbitration or whether or not they sign them to multi-year deals. They have the option, but they have to decide within 48 hours. Then, of course, Dave, Steve, and Mark Eichhorn, 5 days they have until they decide about the status of their contract. Then you have all of the free agents, and there's going to be an awful lot of meetings between now and the time of the expansion draft. Naturally, the exposure of this ball club throughout postseason, right on into the World Series, has brought a lot of attention to a lot of people. So what's going to happen right now is the fact that this organization is at the pinnacle of their success, and a lot of people are going to be looking at all the talent they have in that expansion draft.
All right, Buck, and after a pinnacle always comes a drop-off, if you want to follow the laws of physics, I guess. How realistic is it, do you think, that this team can stay together and can go on perhaps to pursue another championship?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if the guys like Tom Hickey and Jimmy Key and Maldonado and Winfield, Joe Carter, if they'll all come back. There are free agents out there. There are guys that have to be signed. It'll be interesting to see how emotional they will be when they think about the fact that they won a world championship in 1992. Will that have an impact on their deciding to come back to Toronto? You know what the history of this organization has been. They always strive to win. They're never satisfied, and I believe that it's going to be that same attitude. You remember, this thing starts all over again in just 4 months. Blue Jays have a lot of decisions to make, but for the time being, they're going to sit back and toast the champagne and think about being the reigning world champions.
All right, Buck, thanks a lot, and enjoy the celebration. to
All
the
right,
Toronto
Paul.
Blue Jays 1992 World Series champions. It has been said that time passes over us and casts its shadow. That shadow cast back to 1985. Has it really been all that long since they stepped into postseason play for the first time, took another whack at it in 1989, and again in 1991? Yes, I guess time really has passed pretty quickly when you look back on it, and the progression of this team has been incredible. But when you boil it right down, the Toronto Blue Jays finally managing to grasp something that was never all that far out of their reach. Good night.
It's a matter of pride or a matter of destiny. It's talent and skill or it's just God's will. Doesn't matter at all to me. 'Cause I see it so clear, so undeniably near. I've been the best I can be. I've got it coming to me. There's a moment in time when I find myself on top. There's a moment in time when it feels like time has stopped. For the rest of my life, I'll be living in history. That moment in time can't be taken away from me. It's a burning inside, just the way it's supposed to be. If I keep it in sight, maybe stand and fight, it's gonna be there for me. And I want it so bad. It's every dream I've had, the one desire I know I can never let go. There's a moment in time when I find myself on top. And there's a moment in time when it feels like time has stopped. For the rest of my life, I'll be living in history. That moment in time can't be taken away. No, it 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 can't be taken
You're watching TSN, the sports network.
The Eastern, the Steelers and the Chiefs. Sunday night NFL on TSN. It's the only game in town.
Coming up on Sports Desk.
Nixon punts. Kimball on it. Throws to first. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.
Sports Desk, brought to you by Wiser Locks. Quality locks made for Canadians by Canadians.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Desk. I'll try to speak a little more quietly this morning for those of you who are up late celebrating. Yes, the Jays have done it. The Jays have won the 1992 World Series title. Celebrations began at about 12:50 a.m. Eastern Time and will likely last for the next few days at least. First for the Jays. A first for Major League Baseball and a very proud moment for all Canadian sports fans. You saw it happen. Game 6 of the World Series, Braves and the Jays. Top of the first, Devon White, after a leadoff single, steals second base. That's his first stolen base in the series. 1 out later, Joe Carter, fly ball to right field. It is deep enough and then gets by Justice anyway. White scores, and it's 1-0 for the Blue Jays. The Atlanta fans get behind their team with the chop. It seems to help. Deion Sanders on third. Terry Pendleton lifts the fly ball to deep center field. Devon White goes back for it, makes the catch easily, but Sanders tags and scores just as easily. Game tied at 1. Top of the 4th inning now. Candy Maldonado leading it off for the Jays, and he does it in fine fashion. A solo home run to left field. Toronto's 16th homer of the postseason play. 2-1 for the Jays, and the Canadian fans in attendance are loving it. Still in the 4th. 2 out, 2 on for Devon White. Singles to left field. Pat Borders on second. Rounds third. Heads home. Borders trying to beat Berryhill's tag, but cannot. Berryhill out at the plate. Borders still 2-1 Jays. Bottom of the 4th. Roberto Alomar goes deep in the hole and on the first in time to rob Jeff Blauser of a base hit. David Cohn getting some support from the bullpen from David Wells. This is a critical situation in the 5th. Second and third, 2 out for Terry Pendleton, and Cohn K's Pendleton. 2-1 Jays after 5 innings. Bottom of the 8th, still 2-1. Dwayne Warden relief. He gets Ron Gant thanks to Dave Winfield's outstanding catch. Excellent defense by the Jays. Bottom of the 9th inning now. Still 2-1 Toronto. Brave fans are praying for their players' tying run. 2 on, 2 out. 0-2 to Otis Nixon. Henke facing him to shut things down. A strike away from the World Series title. Henke delivers, and so does Otis Nixon. Slaps one into left. Candy Maldonado charges, comes up throwing, throws it into the screen. Game tied at 2. We're going to extra innings. Cito looks on. Top of the 11th. 1 out. White is hit by the pitch at the plate. Devon White now on first. Alomar at the plate. Alomar comes through with a single into shallow center field. So there, 1 out. 2 on. First and second. Carter comes to the plate. He pops out. Dave Winfield then comes to the plate. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 tie. Winfield pulls a double down left field line. White comes in to score. Misplay. Alomar comes in to score as well. 4-2 for the Blue Jays, and the Jays are 3 outs away from the 1992 World Series title. Bottom of the 11th, 2 out, 4-3 game. Runner on third base. Mike Timlin on the hill. Otis Nixon representing the game's final out. Turns, tries to bunt. Timlin comes off the mound. On to first in time, and the Jays have done it.
The World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.
Yes, the Blue Jays win the 1992 World Series title. It took 11 innings. It took 6 games. The Jays win the series 4-2, win game 6 by a final score of 4-3. Mike Timlin comes in to get the important save. Jimmy Key comes in and earns the victory in relief of David Cohn. Candy Maldonado gets the home run, his second in the postseason play. But the most important person in this series, by far, the MVP, Pat Borders. Pat Borders goes 9 for 20 at the plate, 3 doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs. Overall, he batted .450 in the World Series. An outstanding performance by Pat Borders. Rod Smith was at the World Series for us and has this post-game report.
If victory gets sweeter the harder it comes, then this must be the sweetest victory of all. It wasn't easy, but it's over. The Toronto Blue Jays are world champions.
That was a scary time because we're at their crowd. Their crowd's really pumping them up. You start hearing it in the later innings especially. They got real loud, and it's definitely to their advantage.
I was screaming a little bit tonight. At the end of the game, I usually don't raise my voice too much, but tonight I screamed a little bit.
I just worked him into the count, and I was either looking for a changeup or inside fastball. And I said, I'm just going to flick the wrist, man. I don't want to use my body. I just want to flick the wrist. He gave me a pitch I could just reach out and whack. And it was down the line, man. I was exhilarated. It was great. The guys went crazy. Hey, I'm going to give Atlanta a lot of credit. A lot of credit. They're class ball club, tremendous, best in the league.
The guy, you know,
he had the label in October. What was Steinberg to put on him, and it wasn't right. He hadn't had the extra base hit. We left a lot of guys on base. But he came through. I said, Big Dave's going to do it. 3-2. He comes through with a big hit down the left field, down the third base line. Double. 2-run score. What more can you ask for?
They did it without me in the end, I'll tell you. But like I predicted, I said it can't be anybody but me, so we won it. It was great. The bullpen did a great job. I just assumed it was going to be another pitcher's goal.
Yes, it feels good because at least I do something. I make an error, but
that's okay.
We win it. I don't care. So, I feel part of the team. That's great. I'm really happy for me to win the World Series here with Toronto.
You can't overlook the positive things that happened, and it still was a great season, and it was tough to do even to get back to it like we did. Whether you win or lose, it was a tremendous effort on our part to even get here.
Well, anytime you go to the World Series back-to-back nowadays, you're doing something right. There's nothing to be ashamed of. If we were to finish second, we wouldn't even be worried about this. But we did win the division. We won the pennant again. We came back to the World Series, and as an athlete, there's nothing that makes you feel good about losing when you get to this point.
For this one, it wasn't just for 92. It was also for 85, 87, 89, and 91 as well. Gone are the choke labels, gone all the words that said this team couldn't win it all. They've been erased here in Atlanta. Rod Smith, TSN.
And for the second year in a row, the Atlanta Braves come up empty at the World Series. If you think things were a little crazy in the Blue Jay dressing room and in Atlanta, well, you haven't seen anything yet. It's a celebration the Toronto police officers are calling the largest in the history of the city. Our Mark Bunting was right in the middle of it and has this report.
Over 45,000 fans line up outside SkyDome for the cheapest World Series seats they'll ever get, as admission is absolutely free. The fans are ready to explode in the bottom of the ninth inning, but the Blue Jays throw a little agony into the mix, just for good measure. Later, the Blue Jays make sure of victory, and it's time to celebrate. Well, there are all the celebrating fans on Yonge Street. Let's see if I can get through this before I get mobbed or trampled. It looked like the Blue Jays might not pull it out tonight. It looked like they might put their fans through an agonizing Game 7. But finally, this city gets to celebrate like they never had before. Mark Bunting, TSN in Toronto.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Good time on the streets of Toronto, but no provincial borders for this party. When we come back, a cross-section of the cross-country celebration.
Oh, we killed them! We're awesome! Canadians!
This is better than the Stanley Cup because we deserve it. All right? Any comment?
A Big Mac and a Diet Coke, please.
Get the extra value meal. It's a great deal. Plus you get fries.
I'll just have some of yours.
No. I ordered fries because I want fries. They're mine, not yours. If you want fries with dinner, get your own.
Mom, can I have some of my fries? I'll just have some of your father's.
No. Now, with the Big Mac extra value meal and a kids combo, the whole family can get exactly what they want for dinner.
What you want is what you get. Free refund? I'll just have some of his.
Right, work with me here, people. There's a new tire from Goodyear. It's called the AquaTread. It's an all-season radial with a radical new design feature. Now, you see this groove running right down the middle of the tire? Well, it pumps water out of your way. Gosh, any water, even slush.
Really? That's good news. Why are you sitting at the tune-up desk? And why is there a tire on the tune-up desk? Is there no depth to which you tire people won't sink?
The new AquaTread, only from Goodyear.
Look at that. Tread marks on my tune-up desk, and I just wiped.
So Toronto has done it. They've won the 1992 World Series title. Our Rod Smith has followed the Jays right through the American League Championship and into the World Series itself. He was there when the corks were popping in the Blue Jays dressing room and is now standing by with Joe Carter.
All right, thank you very much. And with me now is Joe Carter. And Joe, this franchise in the past, and I know you hated always talking about the past, never seemed to do anything easily, but it must have been one of the greatest feelings to catch that ball for the final hit.
What pass? Pass? I don't know anything about it pass. I mean, you know, I had a premonition I was going to catch the final ball, make the last out of the World Series, and everybody's going to jump for joy. And I thank God because it did happen. But this team no longer has to live with all the things that were said in the past about 85, 87, 89, 91. This team is the world champions. We're happy. We're excited. And I know the people in Toronto are very excited right now.
If it couldn't be you that drove in the game-winning RBI, aren't you glad it was your buddy Dave Winfield?
Hey, I didn't care who it was, as long as there's somebody on our ball club. We did not want to come back here tomorrow and play Game 7. Glavin's been tough on us, but we were not going to be denied this time. Like I said, we had 3 goals in mind. We won that. We finished, you know, had all 3 goals. We accomplished them. But to see Big Dave come through, you know, he got the fans going. 45,000 fans in SkyDome. I mean, you guys are awesome out there, and we're coming home tomorrow. We have a good time at Parade Monday, and let's celebrate all together because this was definitely a joint effort.
Does it make you glad San Diego swung that deal?
Well, you know, I was happy once the deal was complete. You know, I was a little upset because of being traded. I lost my free agency and everything. But, you know, once I settled down, it's like I'm coming to Toronto. I know I'm going to have a chance to play in the World Series, the playoffs. I was very excited about that. And in 2 short years, it's come true. We're world champions. And now I can say that for once, I'm on top of the world.
Joe, just one final word on the Atlanta Braves and the character they showed to make this interesting.
Unbelievable. You know, Pat Corrales was my coach in Cleveland, my manager, and I'm on first base. And he said it's not going to be easy. And we scored the 2-1 there in the 9th, and they come back tied up. We scored 2 in the 11th. And he says, we're not going to make it easy for you guys. It's going to be tough. And sure enough, the first 2 guys gets on base. And, you know, it was tooth and nail from there. And I'm sure the people in Toronto were on their seats a little bit. We were, too. But Timlin came in and filled the bunt. And it was like from there, it was like total ecstasy because, you know, it finally happened. You know, thank God it finally happened. We are the champions. And I'm very happy for guys like Dave, you know, this whole ball club, Toronto, but more importantly for a guy by the name of Cito Gaston. I mean, he's got what he deserves. We're more than happy for him. Awesome.
Joe, I think there are a lot of people happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. All right.
Joe Carter. Now let's go back to Sports Desk.
Thanks very much, Rod. You know, as much as the Toronto Blue Jays have been named the world champions, this is a title that the entire country can now share in. It's the first time in history of the majors the title has been taken outside of the U.S., and it's something the whole country is now taking great pride in. We sent our cameras right across the country to give you a glimpse at how Canada is celebrating. First up, David Pratt in Vancouver.
Thank you very much. And usually here in Vancouver, when it shakes this much, it's cause for real concern. But the Jays are champions. We've got a lot of people in here that are big Jays fans. Rob Boyd, how sweet does this feel?
All right, Toronto. I knew to do it. And it's our game, too.
Yes, it sure enough is. We've also got Peter DeLuise. Come on in here, Peter. As an American and as a Jays fan, how good is this?
This is the greatest thing that can happen to Canada right now.
Yeah.
Today is definitely Blue Jays Day. And I wish these people would cheer up. They're really bringing me down. It's very depressing.
You know what? It may be Blue Jay fever, but it is now a national epidemic. Let's go to Edmonton and Ken Chillibeck. Take it away, Ken.
Thank you very much, David. We're at the Westin Hotel in downtown Edmonton. As you can see, the place is a little quiet right now, but it was buzzing a few minutes ago when the final out was made by the Toronto Blue Jays to capture their first ever World Series. We got some crazy fans here. They're just watching some of the action on television. Listen, just give us your thoughts on the Toronto Blue Jays winning this big championship.
Fantastic. Sorry about that. Fantastic.
And this is the way fans in this city always dress
We
up
always
to
dress
support
like this.
their favorite team. As you
My
can
mom
see,
and T.O.
we've even got
Francis.
some clowns here, but what do you think about Toronto, though? I mean, a lot of
Fantastic.
anti-Toronto stuff in the West, you know, when they
No.
win something. Is this all of Canada winning?
You can't look at anti-Toronto stuff for me. I'm from Toronto. Been here for 2 years. Hi, Mom.
fantastic. The Blue Jays won for you. I'm very happy.
Send money, right? Okay.
Send money, yes.
That's the story in Edmonton as people celebrating a great championship by the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, now to take a look at the action in Montreal. Here's Michael Whalen.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Well, here in Montreal, emotions ran up and down throughout the whole game, as I imagine they did right across the whole country. And joining me right now are a couple of actual Montreal Blue Jay fans. This is Tony and this is Nick, and this is Tony. Guys, you enjoyed the game, obviously?
Unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. Can't believe it. The Blue Jays finally done it. It's been crazy. So many years they've been going at it. Finally, they pulled it through. It's about time they won't call us chokers no more, and we can quote more teams in Canada like BC, the one team in the league. We should get a bad rap, and now it's over.
Okay. Let me tell you something, Michael. I'm just going to say something. I want to tell my brother Loves in Toronto. I love them. And the Blue Jays and the Chiefs and the Magnum and everybody. Blue Jays are number one. All right. That's the story here in Montreal. And now, Alex J. Walling in Halifax.
Blue Jays, Blue Jays, Blue Jays. Michael, we have some people here who've made a bet. Tell me about the bet.
The bet was pretty simple. Morgan here's been a Red Sox fan all along, never cared about Atlanta, but never cared about the Blue Jays either. I told them they'd stay it out, and they did it.
Who's going to drink then?
I get to drink.
Start drinking. Needless to say, a coast-to-coast celebration right here from Canada's East Coast. Alex J. Walling, Halifax.
That's great. Good to see them all having a good time. All right, baseball has certainly been the major focus on night, but not the only thing.
Can I borrow your sports section from St. Clair and Young? This is City TV, everywhere.
Good evening. Party time in Toronto. They crowded around TV sets, waiting for the last out. Along storefronts on Yonge Street, around our monitor at the Live-Eye. Then the party began. 500,000 strangers, Blue Jays fans, Canadians, united in celebration. City TV, we preempted regular programming, a special one-hour show after the game from the streets, flying by the seat of our pants.
This is our script. I'm going to get rid of it. At this point, it's meaningless.
We are the champions! We are the champions!
Officially, Yonge Street was closed to traffic from King to Wellesley, but the street fest stretched from the lakeshore right up to Highway 401. Lasted from just after midnight until the wee hours of this morning. On every street corner, trying to make sure no one had anything to regret today, Metro Police. For them, a word of thanks from Blue Jay revelers. What a night, and like a lot of their fans, the world champs have been partying all night, savoring their biggest win ever.
Greg Manzik managed to track them down today. Gregor?
Thanks very much, Ben. The very happy but very tired Toronto Blue Jays returned home this afternoon. We caught up with the world champions at Pearson International. About 2 o'clock is when they arrived. It's funny how all the guys are wearing sunglasses. Joe Carter greeting some of the people there. Of course, there's Big Dave Winfield. Blackjack Morris looking a little like Eddie Shack doing the chop. Let's take a look back at the big highlights of Game 6. Top of the 11th, 2 out, full count. Dave Winfield rips one down the left field line. That will score 2. And the Jays go up 4-2. Then in the bottom of the inning, score now 4-3. Otis Nixon tries to drag the bunt. Mike Timlin guns him out. 4-3. Jays the final. Here is hitting hero Dave Winfield with his thoughts on the win.
And I didn't think that I was going to be in a position to be considered a hero, but it's a team effort all along. These guys have busted their behind all year, and I'm just glad I could contribute right at the end. I know I did a lot to help us get to the playoffs.
How'd I get caught in this ring?
I didn't do a lot of things that really, you know, overwhelmed the opposition. I just did what I had to do. I got a chance in the extra innings, got that big hit, and it makes everything we did this year worthwhile.
And we'll have much more on the Blue Jays World Championship later on in sports. Ben?
Amazing, Greg. The ball players got a break, but others not so lucky. Videographer Todd Southgate checked in on those of whom the post-World Series celebration means extra long hours.
One of the things usually associated with a party or a large celebration is the morning after. And although the Jays won the World Series last night in the 11th, cleanup crews and people preparing for tomorrow's parade are just getting into overtime.
A little bit of work. The fans were really exuberant. They wanted little souvenirs and memorabilia of this. This is history, of course. Little pieces of turf and all that we have to sew back together.
We tore up parts of the dirt. And
we got dirt. Show the dirt.
Get the dirt out. Dirt.
We took dirt from all the plates and
in this bag.
Oh,
yes.
Isn't that lovely? Look at that. In the bag. I haven't put a total assessment on the damage yet, but it isn't anything we can't repair in-house. We do this on an ongoing operational basis. We occasionally put a forklift through the turf, so it's much the same. A lot of getting down on your hands and knees and doing a little bit of sewing.
So now what we're going to do, we're going to work both sides of the church from front up the blower, and we're going to work all mains and interiors over to Jarvis. Now, if you see any litter beyond Jarvis, pick it up, okay?
Lots of newspaper all the way up to blower on the left and right side, so we have to stay a little longer, clean up dundas and your diversity all over the place, so we have to get done.
Have you ever seen a mess like this before?
Not really.
Retailers are also being kept busy today with a new line of World Championship T-shirts that have just hit the shelves. Does this mean a lot of extra work for you today now that they won the World Series last night?
Well, the past week it's been like 24 hours a day. It's like only 2 hours sleep, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Have a good day.
And the party is still going here live on Yonge Street. And although the streets are a lot cleaner now, that does not mean an end to the overtime. Tomorrow, Toronto will welcome home the 1992 World Series champs with a parade, and that'll mean more streets to clean, more T-shirts to sell, and another opportunity for Jays fans to cheer on their heroes. Ben?
Thanks, Todd. Now let's take a look at that parade route for our world champion Jays. Our baseball heroes leave the Royal York Hotel at 1 p.m., heading west on front to York Street, north to Wellington, west to Peter, and south to SkyDome for the victory party. The Dome opens at 10 in the morning, and Go Transit is offering free rides on its Lakeshore train line to Union Station for the celebrations. Can't make it down? Then tune into City. We'll have the parade live starting at 1. Police tonight tell us last night's exuberant fans were extremely well behaved. We know of only one exception. A car went barreling through Yonge Street near Bloor, hitting 5 people. All the injuries were minor. Witnesses ran after the vehicle, stopping it before police arrived. Charges have been laid against 18-year-old Domenico Verzi of Woodbridge. So 1 cliffhanger down and 1 to go. With the World Series in the bag, the next nail-biter is the Constitution. Gord Martineau is live in Montreal tonight, taking the pulse of Quebecers. Gord?
Thank you, Ben. It is the day after that marvelous World Series victory and the day before the referendum balloting here in Montreal. And if you listen to the people in the streets here, there isn't much doubt, according to them, that the Charlottetown Accord will be voted down here tomorrow. It's the eve of the...
Coming up on Sports Desk, a picture-perfect day for the new World Series champion. Dave Winfield, the man who led the Jays to the promised land. They're still dancing in the streets in Toronto. And Sunday, a real headache for NFL quarterbacks.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sports Desk. Hope you're having a great weekend. A festive Sunday for many sports fans across Canada. Likely a lot of hangovers today as well, after some late night, early morning partying in Toronto, celebrating Canada's first ever World Series title. The Blue Jays clinching that title, winning a 4-3 nail-biter last night in Atlanta. Our coverage today begins with Mark Bunting, who was at the airport this afternoon.
Despite repeated announcements that they aren't going to be able to see the Blue Jays, hundreds of fans stick around at Pearson International Airport, refusing to believe it. They go home disappointed. The Blue Jays plane lands at about 2:10. They go through customs on the plane. A short while later, manager Cito Gaston is the first to emerge. Later on at SkyDome, fans line up outside the parking garage, hoping to catch a glimpse of their heroes. Inside, the players gather their belongings, a little tired from the party the night before.
How did you celebrate last night?
Well, we have a party and we celebrate real good. It was a good celebration because this is mean a lot to us and a lot to the city of Canada.
We went back to the hotel, you know, and we had a ballroom, and you know, we had a little dance floor, and you know, a couple of beers, and we had a good time.
I'm tired, so it had to be a great party. No, we had a lot of fun. Guys got together, danced and sang, and it was just a lot of fun. We had a great time. I think I went to bed about 5 o'clock this morning, so I'm going to go home and sleep a little bit, and then we'll party again tomorrow.
Years from now, people will ask, where were you in '92 when the Jays clinched their first ever World Series title? I, like many, was home watching the game with family and friends, but for thousands, the best seat in the house was at SkyDome. And afterwards, it's estimated that 500,000 people spilled onto the streets of downtown Toronto. Let there be no doubt, the last 24 hours will hold a lofty spot in Canadian sports history.
Thousands of anxious Blue Jay fans began to arrive outside the SkyDome as early as 6 hours before game time. In fact, over 45,000 people showed up to watch the game on SkyDome's Jumbotron. And what a game they saw.
the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.
I'm ecstatic more than anything. For Dave, coming to the big hit, that's for SkyDome, man. I mean, he's a hell of a guy, and he finally gets what he deserves, baby. Thank you. He's the best. He's the best, man. Yes.
I was screaming a little bit tonight. At the end of the game, I usually don't raise my voice too much, but tonight I screamed a little bit.
We told you, they had a lot of character. It wasn't the team that you saw in the past. We overcame all odds, the culmination of a great year.
Almost unbelievable. 500,000 people outside celebrating last night in the streets of Toronto. We're happy to tell you that the early morning party was also a safe one. No reports of violence or vandalism downtown. A well-controlled crowd, and a good time was had by all. Mark Bunting joins us once again and says the party was still going strong this afternoon.
They were partying last night, and the party continues on Yonge Street in Toronto. Some fans just can't seem to get enough of celebrating the Blue Jays' World Series victory. As for this clothing store at Yonge and Dundas, it's booming, as you might expect.
It's pretty good. Like, we've been doing like a 10 times more.
Pretty good or great?
It's great. It's great. More than great. Been doing good.
Can you give us an idea in terms of numbers?
Unlimited number. We can't put up, We just got a couple hundred shirts, and after a couple, but less than an hour, they're all gone.
Well, it's been about 19 hours since the Blue Jays wrapped up the World Series, but as you can see, this city is still going crazy, and it's only going to continue tomorrow during the parade. Mark Bunting, TSN, on the streets of Toronto.
Thank you, Mark, and don't forget the World Series parade is set for tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have live coverage for you here on TSN, the Sports Network, beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. 10 o'clock Pacific. Should be a wild celebration in downtown Toronto. Still ahead on Sports Desk, our World Series recap continues with a look at the man who brought in the series-clinching runs last night, Big Dave Winfield. He didn't put up the numbers most people expected from him in the postseason, but he was a leader of this team from day one in '92. And one game in the NHL this afternoon. We'll head to Vancouver. The Canucks and the Bruins going head-to-head when we come back.
Any major purchase involves a leap of faith. Buy a Nissan and it doesn't have to. You're protected by the Nissan Satisfaction Commitment. The most comprehensive customer care program in Canada. It comes at no extra cost and has no deductibles. Because at Nissan, we believe warranties should protect the people who drive the cars, not the people who make them. Nissan, built for the human race.
Meet Jim and Mike. Both of these guys have just bought new suits. Mike went to Jack Fraser, and Jim went, well, somewhere else. Both of them look great. They got quality suits, great fit, the latest style. Jim paid almost $400 for his suit, and Mike paid less than $300 at Jack Fraser. Two nicely dressed men. But the thing I like about Mike is he's still got money left over for dinner. Yes.
For years, the Toronto Blue Jays have been touted as the most talented team in baseball, but year after year, hearts would be broken as the Jays almost routinely fell one step short of a trip to the World Series. Last December, Pat Gillick, the general manager of the team, acquired a player he felt could help the team as much with his attitude and character as he could with his bat. That player was Dave Winfield, and it was only fitting last night that in the top of the 11th inning, Toronto earned its first ever World Series title thanks to a Dave Winfield two-run double.
Somehow you just knew that he was going to come through when the Jays needed him most. Dave Winfield's series-winning double in the 11th inning last night capped the most memorable season of his brilliant 22-year career.
I just worked him into the count, and I was either looking for a changeup or inside fastball. And I said, I'm just going to flick the wrist, man. I don't want to use my body. I just want to flick the wrist. He gave me a pitch I could just reach out and whack. And it was down the line, man. I was exhilarated. It was great.
After becoming a Jay in the offseason, the 41-year-old veteran quickly assumed a leadership role both in the clubhouse and on the field. And his focused approach on winning and accomplishing team goals instantly earned him the respect of his teammates. Winfield made the Jays believe in themselves while they were being pursued by the Orioles and the Brewers during the regular season. And he helped the Jays finally get over the hump of winning the American League Championship Series. He struggled at the plate through the first 5 games, but he contributed on the field with a tremendous catch in Game 6. And he silenced his critics who said that he couldn't hit in the clutch.
The guy, you know, he had the label in October, what was Steinbrenner put on him, and it wasn't right. You know, he hadn't had the extra base hit. We left a lot of guys on base, but he came through. I said, Big Dave's going to do it. 3-2. He comes through with a big hit down the left field, down the third base line, double. I mean, 2-run score. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Safe to say, the Blue Jays and their fans couldn't have asked for more.
And a number of World Series records fell by the wayside this year as well, not the least of which focuses on the Jays bullpen, which set a new record with 15 1/3 consecutive shutout innings. The Jays also set a record for consecutive postseason games with a home run. The new record is now 10. World Series MVP Pat Porter setting a new postseason mark. Hit streak record for catchers hitting safely in 14 straight games. That is 3rd on the all-time list. And the Braves set a new record running against the Borders. 14 stolen bases in a 6-game series is also a new World Series
night set. It's pretty quiet right now, but it is ready. Tomorrow night, this place will be crackling with energy. Canadians will have voted in only the 3rd national referendum in our history. And this is where we'll be to see what you've decided. Tonight, an extended Sunday report to set the scene. We'll cross the country to see and hear the two sides make their last pitches. We'll see and hear how the voters consider them. The complete look ahead tonight. But first, a country caught not in the grip of referendum fever, but still suffering from a serious bout of Blue Jay fear. 23 years after Major League Baseball first came to Canada, that was tiny Jerry Park in Montreal, baseball's biggest prize has crossed the border. It was brought here by the Toronto Blue Jays, who tonight can call themselves World Series champions. Their victory over the Atlanta Braves last night set off a joyous celebration on the diamond and pandemonium among Jays fans from coast to coast. Canada has rarely seen a night like the one we had last night. The celebrating went on until the sun came up. The CBC's Paul Hunter has followed the Jays on their path to victory. Here's his report on the Canadian conquest of what they call the great American pastime.
It was like the party never ended in Toronto. Delirious baseball fans waiting for their team, their World Series champion Toronto Blue Jays, to arrive home from Atlanta.
We're here to greet them, and we want to see them, and we want to congratulate them on the victory. They're the world champs.
It's a part of history. It's history in the making. It puts Canada on the map.
Everybody's talking about the Jays. We went up this morning for a few minutes, and everybody you ran into is, you know, go Jays, go. You know, how about those Jays? It was beautiful.
But when the jet pulled in, security was tight, and the team was brought through another gate, so only a few people saw them. But the players still put on a show. All smiles, hugs, and baseball bats.
John Smoltz, the pinch runner at 3rd.
Here's how it went last night. A dramatic ending to a tense game. The final pitch.
Nixon punts. Kimlin on it. Throws to first. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border.
And pandemonium.
Oh, my! That's a good one! Yes!
The Blue Jays waited 16 years for this. So did their fans. And last night in Toronto, they went crazy. 45,000 people were watching the game on a giant TV screen at the Blue Jays Stadium. 500,000 fans paraded through Toronto's streets after the game. Other street parties erupted in Winnipeg and Vancouver. And across the country, fans caught Blue Jay fever. This afternoon, the smart fans in Toronto knew exactly where to go to see their heroes. The Blue Jays came to their home stadium, the SkyDome, to clean up their lockers and try to put the emotion of last night into perspective.
You know, at this point, it's a feeling that you really can't put in words and describe about how you feel about being a part of a World Championship team.
I think I went to bed about 5 o'clock this morning, so I'm going to go home and sleep a little bit, and then we'll party again tomorrow.
That party tomorrow is the Victory Parade. It's set for early in the afternoon, and it'll end up right here at the stadium, where fans are being invited inside for free. They'll get to see the players one last time this year and shout, cheer, and scream some more for the team that won it all in Atlanta. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Toronto.
So, quite a past 24 hours. Pat Gillick is the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, and he's been good enough to join us here in the studio. Still pinching yourself?
We're still on cloud 9, Peter. I think that we got back this afternoon, and I think the realization of what really happened yesterday is going to sink in this evening.
You know, for all of us watching on television, obviously there were special moments, that sort of rocky 9th inning and then the amazing plays in the 11th inning. What's your special moment as somebody who was there and who was waiting, what, 16 long years for this to happen?
Well, I think that my special moment really was the fact that Dave Winfield got an opportunity to drive in those 2 runs in the 11th inning. Here's a guy who had not had an extra base hit in any World Series competition. He's a guy that we brought over here, especially for postseason competition, and Dave had the opportunity to drive in those 2 runs. That was a very special moment, I think, not only for David, I think, but the organization as a whole.
How worried were you in the 9th and even in the 11th when they still came back?
I was a little worried in the 9th inning that we wouldn't get out with a tie. I felt if we got out with a tie, our bullpen was a little stronger than Atlanta's, and that we beat them in extra innings. But Tom was running low on his fuel there in the 9th inning, so I was happy to get out 2-2 and then wait till the 11th inning.
You know, it's been fascinating listening and watching the American media today because they concede Toronto won. They concede that for the first time the World Series has been won by a team outside of their boundaries, yet they don't concede that it's anything really that special because none of the players on the Blue Jays are Canadian. They're all either American or from the Caribbean. Tell me, give me the counter-argument to that beyond the fact you got Toronto lettered on the uniform.
Well, I think that teams that win championships, not every player on that particular team, be it whatever sport you might be involved is from that particular city or that particular state. They representing that particular city in that sport that they're playing. So I think what we'll have to do, and thinking about it for a second, I think what we'll have to do is win it again. And I think that that wasn't a fluke that we won it the first time. So I think that we'll have to go ahead and repeat and win it again. But it doesn't matter to us that there's no Canadians on this ball club. We have the Dominicans, we have Puerto Ricans, we have Americans, but we got Toronto across the front of our uniform, and that's who we represent, not only people of Toronto, but people of Canada.
Well, let me ask you one last question about winning it again. You know, in the days of Major League Baseball now, the dollar speaks more than the city, I think, and you run the risk of losing a good chunk of that team. Some of the big players could be moving on. How worried are you about that?
We have some concern about that, but I think that over the 16 years that the organization throughout baseball has built a name that we can attract players. In the early beginning of our ball club, it was very difficult for players to come to Toronto. They weren't attracted to our ball club. I think that's changed over the past 10 years since we've become competitive, and I think that we will attract new players. We might not have the same 25 players that we had this season, but I think we'll have 25 interesting players in 1993.
Well, you gave the whole country a thrill, and we do thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, while some Blue Jay fans may feel like they've gone into orbit over the big win, there's one who's actually there. Canadian astronaut Steve McLean on board the Space Shuttle Columbia. McLean was asleep when his team won it, but Mission Control radioed up the news first thing this morning. The astronaut's response, all right. Now, to the referendum.
Retiree. Who's going to do that for you? Royal Trust? They come through for you. Royal Trust? Yeah. How come you never told me about this before?
5:30 Live, premiering November 2nd on CBC television.
Good evening.
evening. I'm Noelle Richardson. Well, Toronto was party central last night as 500,000 Blue Jays fans spilled into the streets to celebrate the Jays' 11th inning win over Atlanta to clinch the World Series. And celebrations went on all night, all across the province for the Jays' first ever Canadian World Series victory. Barbara Andrusic is here now with today's developments. Barb?
Well, Noelle, it was absolute pandemonium here in Toronto all night long. Yonge Street was crammed with people giving each other high fives, climbing lamp poles, and generally whooping it up. Today, the objects of all this adulation returned home. Scott Laurie has more on the champions' homecoming.
We love all of you. We love all of you.
The best team in baseball got their feet back on the ground today. Players weren't very talkative, and they left right away in buses.
Trust me, trust the police. They are not at the airport. They have gone, and we all wish them good luck.
While the Jays were getting on their buses, police told waiting fans that the team was gone.
A little disappointed in the Blue Jays PR people to not have them come see the fans and support them all year long. Well, good to see Cito and Pat Borders and the boys come back to town.
Hundreds of people at the Dome were more lucky. They got to see the Jays bus arriving. The players were happy to be back.
I can tell you, I'm pleased, ecstatic. It hasn't quite sunk in yet. We look forward to the parade tomorrow to acknowledge everybody and their support. It's been beautiful.
Fans mobbed players driving out of the Dome. It was just a bit of a continuation of yesterday's wild street bash. About 500,000 people turned downtown into the site of Toronto's biggest party ever. Police reported only minor incidents. Some people started a small fire. They burned an Atlanta Brave in effigy. Today's crowd at the Dome saved their loudest cheers for the World Series' most valuable player, Pat Borders. Fans can do this all over again tomorrow. The official parade for baseball's new world champs will start at 1 in the afternoon. After winding its way through downtown streets, the celebrations will end with ceremonies here at SkyDome. Scott Laurie, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, the situation in two other communities north of Toronto was somewhat different. More on that from Steve Kirkland of our Barrie affiliate.
Unfortunately, in downtown Barrie, some people celebrated a bit too much. City police had to call in backup help from the OPP and neighboring Innisfil Town Police. This is what the city's bus station looked like this morning. This is what's left of somebody's car window.
There's an estimation of approximately 2,000 youths in the downtown area that had come from both bars and from house parties. And they were in a celebration type of mood, and I guess there was a couple of store windows broken, apparently.
And then there's the prize for rotten luck in the World Series, and this neighborhood in Aurelia wins it hands down. 10th inning of last night's game, thousands of people glued to the TV sets, then suddenly nothing.
The power went out. We started screaming just about everybody else in my apartment building and were really angry about it.
Whether overcome by all the drama of the series or otherwise, the driver of a taxi cab wound up colliding with his hydro pole, knocking out power around here just as the game was getting interesting.
The power went off, then so we're going all over just trying to find out who won the game.
To make things worse, crews trying to restore power to the immediately affected area wound up knocking out power to much of downtown and other parts of the city. This man was working at a downtown bar.
And people just couldn't believe that it happened. It was so close, and then the power was gone.
Like the winning goal of the '72 Canada-Soviet Hockey Summit, these pictures of the 1992 World Series will certainly be replayed on TV many times in the days and months ahead. And with luck, Blue Jay fans up this way might just get a chance to see them.
I guess some of your neighbors aren't very happy.
No, I'm sure they're not. The Jays won and they missed it.
Imagine there's a lot of mad scrambling where they all went to some place that they knew had friends with TVs or something.
In Aurelia, Steve Kirkland, Total News.
A tough break, and once again, tomorrow's parade beginning at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto at 1 o'clock. The route will follow York Street to Wellington, across to Wellington, to Peter, and then down to the SkyDome. And we'll have that for you live on CBC if you can't make it out. And I'll have more sports for you later in the show. Noelle, back to you.
Barb.
Okay.
Now to the other big news story in Toronto. Police continue their job action, trying to force concessions from the Ray government. The Metro Toronto Police Association began its protest 3 weeks ago against proposed legislation requiring officers to file a report every time they draw their guns in public. They've been wearing baseball-type hats and issuing fewer summonses for minor traffic offenses. Today, Bob Ray proposed a compromise. He said he'll meet with Association President Art Limer on Tuesday if Limer will suspend the job action until then.
I spoke to Mr. Limer this afternoon, and I said very directly to him that I was going to be in my office on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock.
No mistake about it. The Passat. It is a Volkswagen.
Live from Toronto, home of the World Series champs, this is Sportsline. Jays are back. They landed, sort of. They touched down physically this afternoon. The Argonauts came within seconds of winning against the Bombers today. Highlights from Winnipeg. And NHL action from Chicago, where the Hawks finally did the job. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Taddy. We'll hear from Don Martin as he reports on the Jays Day, and also from Bill Bird as he was there in Atlanta at the big moment. Also tonight, additional hockey from Vancouver. Additional football from Hamilton. Dolphins finally joined the ranks of the defeated in NFL play, and much more tonight from Sportsline. Tonight's Sportsline Trivia brought to you by Molson Export. Nothing halfway about it. X says it all. Prior to Pat Porter's, named the last catcher to win the MVP award in the World Series. Number to call, 1-800-387-7700. First two correct callers to give us his or her name, address, and phone number will win one prize apiece tonight from Sportsline.
Your Ford and Mercury dealers believe having a family doesn't mean you can't enjoy a sporty vehicle. Now for only $16,870, you can get the ideal family vehicle with a sports package featuring front-end spoiler, aluminum wheels, striping, and Aerotech side panels at no extra charge, plus standard features like a V6, air conditioning, automatic, and more. Introducing the 93 Aerosport. While quantities last, get Aerosport for only $16,870 with a no-charge sports package. 93 Aerosport. Think of it as the family sports car.
What does it take to be world class? Desire and commitment, exceptional training, and inspired effort. Then at the very instant when it matters most, an outstanding personal performance. We know, because in our business, results are what count, and the right agent makes all the difference in the world. Realty World, the results people.
Welcome back to Sportsline. Into the World Champs, welcome back and congratulations. And if you're watching this broadcast and you're with the Blue Jay family, go to bed. Get some rest. You're going to need it. The next greatest moment after you win a World Series happens tomorrow. Of course, we allude to the parade that happens tomorrow in downtown Toronto, starting at 1. Today, the World Champs arrived home and any potential wild scene was avoided. More from Don Martin.
It was look, but don't touch when the Blue Jays arrived back at Pearson International this afternoon. To avoid a mob scene at the airport, the team wisely decided to go with a private return the day before their parade through downtown and public reception tomorrow at SkyDome, where there is just enough space in the rafters for one more banner. There was virtually no damage to the field itself after last night's public screening of Game 6 on the Jumbotron attracted more than 40,000 fans, many of whom celebrated well into the night. And it was apparent many of the Jays did the same thing. Their convoy of buses finally made it to the stadium at mid-afternoon, and they hopped off looking like, well, like they just won the World Series, but understandably as much tired as happy.
Well, it was nice. It was more fun last night when we won, and that's why I want to go home and go rest.
I can tell you, I'm pleased, ecstatic. It hasn't quite sunk in yet. We look forward to the parade tomorrow to acknowledge everybody in their support. It's been beautiful. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
But the quick getaway was easier said than done as fans lined the exit lanes from the parking garage to get a glimpse of their World Series heroes. Those guys who finally went all the way in the wee hours last night. It may have taken 11 innings, but it was never in doubt.
Nixon punts. Kimlin on it. Throws to first. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.
Well, I had an idea that I was going to have the last out of the ball game. It was going to come to me at first base. You know, to get it, I held onto the ball as long as I possibly could, but there was definitely a lot of joy, a lot of excitement running through my mind, and I was very happy for the people of Toronto, for the Toronto Blue Jays, for everything. I mean, it was very good.
But in the end, even stars have to pick up their bags and get back to reality. And why not? This was a very human World Series, a classic team effort. Everyone endured occasional failure, but responded with frequent greatness that more than made up for it. So it'll be easy to remember what stood out about this team.
Just the way we all stuck together, you know, through thick and thin. It didn't matter, you know, one guy didn't do it one night, another guy picked him up. It was a total team effort, you know, it wasn't just one guy all year. Just the closeness of this team. We had a very close-knit group of guys, and I'll always remember that.
So the Blue Jays have gone from mission impossible to mission accomplished, and in the process, redefined that old cliche that we used to have to drag out and dust off every October since 1977. But now, no matter what the Blue Jays do in the future, hey, there's always this year. Don Martin for Sportsline.
Bill Burr took in last night's series-winning game in Atlanta, and after it was done, he ventured into the dressing room, Scotch Garden all, and obtained these moments.
Well, you know, I don't even want to look at it that way. I think that, as I said before, my guys been focused from day one, and I want to open this shirt here because if you see this 3 for 3, they did it. And these T-shirts was passed out opening day, and that's how focused these guys have been all year to make this come true. And I'm really proud of all of them.
But after what you've been through, this has got to be mighty, mighty sweet.
Well, it's sweet, but I don't hold revenge on anyone or hold any grudge, anything like that. I think you should enjoy this game as well as much as you can, and you know, to be second guess, I think is part of the game, as long as you can understand that and no one gets hurt.
They didn't break me.
I'm telling you, they bit him, but they didn't break him, man. I tell you.
That's right.
This is beyond words. This is the greatest. This is everything I thought it would be. You know, it's we're world champions. You know, and people. I love it. I love that country. I love the team. I love all these guys here. I tell you what, I hope I play the rest of my career with these guys. These guys are super.
All miscues, mistakes, runners left on base, anything, all that's forgiven, forgotten, because it was a solid team effort once again. And I was just glad to be able to do one little thing today.
I'm happy for everybody, and you know, we did it in style. That's our way to do it, and we did it.
Unbelievable. I can't describe it. You know, a lot of talk's made about our team being made up of Americans and Latin Americans, but I tell you what, we feel great for Canada. You don't have to be a Canadian to know exactly what this means to Canada.
I bet you that elbow feels pretty good right now.
Oh, yeah, I feel good right now. You know, I feel no pain now, but I think so. I went out there and did my job, and we feel real glad that we did it this year.
It was a great series, though, and I think a great ball game. Maybe all of them weren't, you know, artistic games, but I thought all of them were very competitive and very close games. So I think the people ought to be happy with that.
Pat, the sweetest bat this side of the 49th. Boy, you hit up a storm. Congratulations.
Well, appreciate it. You know, it's just, you get into slumps and you get into streaks. Right now, just happen to be in a good hot streak.
I'm surprised they pitched you later in the game, but I guess they figured they had to.
Well, they've been pitching well the whole series. Like I said, I was just in a hot streak. Things just went my way. A couple feet either way, I wouldn't have had very many hits at all.
And at the big moment, this was the scene last night in the SkyDome. 45,551 were there. No entrance fee, no tickets required. However, donations were made to charity, in this case, the United Way. And when the final hit was made, you can see the scene. People just jumping onto the field, and the party was underway. And as mentioned in Don Martin's report, no damage to the field, which is, of course, very important. Hey, safe at home. Yes, good. It's a wild scene there, and it spread to Yonge Street, where the street was packed with delirious Jays fans. The parading lasted until the wee hours of the morning. You're going to see some real Jays fans here. These fellas with the painted face. This is like a true fan. Now look at the job there. Come on. I hope it's washable. And if you think that's bad, wait till tomorrow. I hope the insurance is paid in advance. And just before we temporarily leave the world champs for tonight, we give you the highest points of their first 16 years. This isn't one of those plays to music videos. We thought it would be nice to relive them the way they happened.
Here it is, the first pitch in Blue Jay history. It's a strike for the first ball. Brett deals, hard hit ball, power alley, left center field, home run! Jago hits the first homer in Blue Jay history and will score the first run.
World Series celebration. Decision day for Canadians.
When did you make up your mind, sir?
By the door. Good evening, I'm Jeffrey Kaufman. Two major stories tonight. Canadians are deciding the fate of the Charlottetown Accord in a national referendum. We will get to that in a few moments, but first, the party. Toronto celebrated its first World Series today, and it celebrated in a big way. Thousands of people jammed city streets and SkyDome for a parade and ceremony to honor the world champion Toronto Blue Jays. Our Bruce Dobigan was at the Dome, and he joins us with more. Bruce?
Well, Jeffrey, how does that commercial go? Tomorrow we eat, but tonight we dance. Well, my, how Toronto danced today in celebration of its first ever World Championship in baseball. Of course, the Blue Jays and the wee smalls of Sunday morning winning the World Championship over the Atlanta Braves. Now, the Braves call their home field, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, the Chop Shop, but they were the ones who ended up being ground into hamburger by the Blue Jays in 6 games. It all came to an end, as I say, in the early hours of Sunday morning. Mike Timlin on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays, and here's the final out. Who'll forget it? Otis Nixon tries to bunt. Timlin looks like an option quarterback, throwing it out there. The Blue Jays win. The Blue Jays win. The Blue Jays win their first ever World Championship. Back here in Toronto, 45,000 fans at the Jumbotron watching the action from Atlanta, going nuts. And as the players celebrated the World Series, thousands spilled out onto the streets of Toronto for an impromptu party that certainly warmed up the cool evening in Toronto. And back in Atlanta, the champagne was popping in the dressing room. The Blue Jays dressing room was crowded, and it was excited. And I can tell you they spilled enough of that champagne onto my shoes to almost improve the leather on those things. Although some people would say it wouldn't improve it. It was just a wonderful atmosphere to be in Atlanta. They almost lost it in the bottom of the ninth to the Blue Jays on Sunday, and then came back to win it in the 11th. And it was, for a fall classic, it was truly a classic. The Blue Jays winning over Atlanta. Almost all of the games were terrific. And as warrants such a wonderful show by the Toronto Blue Jays, the fans of Toronto today reciprocated, filling the streets to honor their heroes. And Lisa Pappas has more.
There were no floats and only one band, and it's being called the best parade Toronto's ever seen.
I think it's great. Dave Winfield is the best. Age has nothing to do with it. He is the best.
500,000 Blue Jay fans waited for hours for the boys in blue. They weren't disappointed.
It was a madhouse, but hey, it's worth it. What are the chances of shaking Alomar's hand and Gruber and all those guys?
6 favorite players, who are they?
Roberto Alomar, Kelly Fisher, Juan Guzman, Joe Carter, Dave Winfield, and that's it, in top order.
The procession of cars inched its way toward the SkyDome. Shutters snapped, there were high fives, and some were lucky enough to get autographs.
Blue Jay fans say this is a day they'll remember for a long time. Many of them are skipping work, others are skipping school. I manage the office, so it's okay.
I'd like to tell my boss that I got a fever today and I couldn't make it into work.
I got Blue Jays fever.
Well, we are on our lunch break. We're at work. Right up there.
The parade lasted 30 minutes, but the memories will last forever. It's the day almost everyone in Toronto decided to play ball. And when the parade was over, the crowd headed for Yonge Street, while 40,000 people were lucky enough to make it inside the SkyDome. Lisa Pappas, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, while the reception on the streets was exuberant, it had nothing over what happened inside the SkyDome later in the afternoon. I can tell you, having been on the floor of the SkyDome, the reception that the Blue Jays got there was hair-raising. The hair on the back of your neck certainly stood up as the team came into the stadium. And Ken Daniels was more, and he files this report.
Some fans camped out overnight, and by the time the doors opened at 10 a.m., upwards of 20,000 fans entered SkyDome, and by noon, that number swelled to nearly 50,000. All eyes on the Jumbotron.
What the fans are watching behind me is Dave Winfield's double, which gave the Blue Jays the lead in game number 6. If the Blue Jays needed the money, they could probably show all 6 games here at the SkyDome, and they would still sell out this place.
The best thing that can happen for the city of Toronto and for the country, Canada. It's the best thing.
This is Canadian unity. Canadian unity right here.
We brought the World Series championship to Canada, just what this country needed right now.
No excuses necessary for being here today. Fans waiting nearly 4 hours to cheer on their Jays or boo their premier. And as the motorcade arrived at the SkyDome, the players seemed stunned by it all. Pitching hero Jimmy Key along with his wife Cindy. And if you can read lips, she's saying, "This is unbelievable." And as others waited for their introduction, they tried to take it all in.
Joe, you haven't seen anything yet. I did not believe what I've seen. These are animals out here, you know. They're running over the cops. This is awesome. Awesome with a capital A.
How are your arms feeling after that parade route?
My arms are fine. My shoulder, I mean, it almost yanked my shoulder off. I need some shoulder pads on, but I've got 4 months to recover, so it's well worth it.
That's a long DL, but hey, now the question is, are you coming back, Joe? What's in your heart?
Well, you know, we won't worry about that until after I come back from Europe. It's time to celebrate vacation. Then we'll worry about that.
It was a madhouse, but it was great. It was great. Nobody got hurt, and that's the main, concern. But it's great, the support we get here in Toronto, it's unbelievable.
I feel like I'm in heaven. This is unbelievable. I can't believe this happening to me.
And fans saved their loudest applause for the likes of Roberto Alomar. And on a day like this, it was time to forgive and forget.
And I want to thank you fans. You're the best fans in the world. And I don't care about the 1 or 2 that boo me. You're the best. I'd like to thank each and every one of these fans out here. I, early in the year, doubted you guys, said some things in the papers I shouldn't have said. I apologize in a big way because you guys are the greatest.
And the final word, we'll leave that to the eldest Blue Jay, Dave Winfield.
We hope to do it again, but I'll leave you with one last thing. If you'll all turn around, right above the Jumbotron, unveiled 1992 World Champions!
Ken Daniels, CBC Sports.
And Jeffrey, I think calling it awesome is no understatement. The Blue Jays did things first class all the way through this season, and it ended on a first-class note. And now the players are off to their parts of the world, California, Texas, wherever it's warm, Florida. And, of course, we're facing the winter, but at least we've got a couple of warm memories.
All right. Well, Bruce, before we let you go, let me just let our viewers in on a little something. You will be noticing a lot of changes around the CBC in the next few weeks, and one of them involves our Bruce Dobigan. Bruce has been a familiar face and a fixture around here for 7 years, and what sets him apart from a lot of other sportscasters is his talent for making sports comprehensible to everyone. Well, he's going to be taking that ability with him to the new CBC National newscast that begin next Monday night on News World. And Bruce, just in case you thought we had no influence around here, we want you to consider the World Series a going-away present from us to you. So good luck, and we'll be watching.
Well, thanks. I sort of considered it appropriate because I remember in September of 1985, October of 1985, the Blue Jays were trying and failing to win their first American League pennant in the playoff. I was trying and oftentimes failing to be a sportscaster, as I learned on the air. But I wanted to say that I wanted to thank the people who gave me a chance to come to television and learn on the air. People like Howard Bernstein and Slocko Klimke and Bill Kendrick, the executive producers who gave me a chance. All the technicians and the producers and the people behind the scenes who tried as they might to make me look good every night, as hard as that was occasionally. And of course, to the viewers who watched, who wrote, who cared, who told me what was going on out there, who let me know what they wanted to see, and I hope I tried to respond. You know, I hope you keep watching CBC local and regional broadcasting. It's a jungle telegraph in this country. It's one of the threads I think keeps us together. And finally, I guess I should say that our rebels have ended. These actors, as I foretold you, were just floating into air, thin air. We are such stuff as dreams are made of, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. And Jeffrey, I'm going to vote, and I hope everybody does too.
All right, well, that sounds like an Academy Award acceptance speech. We will be seeing you around, Bruce.
I'll be around.
Turning to the other major story of this
TSN.
You'll all turn around. Right above the Jumbotron, unveiled 1992 World Champions, Toronto Blue Jays. Stand up, give them applause. We won, noise. I love you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sports Desk. I'm Chris Seaton. Jim Van Horn has the week off. A lot of empty classrooms, offices, and factories today as Blue Jay fans line the streets of downtown Toronto to celebrate Canada's first ever World Series title. After a long season of highs and lows, today's victory parade made it all worthwhile. Police estimated the crowd at 500,000 people turning out on the streets of downtown Toronto to honor the men who finally brought the first World Series ever home to Canada. And what a parade it was. There's a look at Jack Morris, the 21-game winner during the regular season. Stopper Tom Hankey, along with David Cohn. World Series MVP Pat Borders shaking some hands and taking some pats. Kelly Gruber, Juan Guzman, Robbie Alomar getting mobbed by the crowd as they make their way to SkyDome in the celebration. There's Joe Carter, all smiles as he heads towards the SkyDome. Devon White, the big catch in Game 3. Dave Winfield along with them, taking some pictures, savoring the moment. A packed SkyDome awaits the parade of Blue Jays, many skipping school and work just to be part of this celebration. The World Series trophy on display for everyone to see. This is what it's all about. World Series 1992 going to the Blue Jays. Manager Cito Gaston arrives and chops down the tomahawk chop. Pat Borders waving a Canadian flag. Mike Timlin also making fun of the tomahawk chop as they celebrate in the SkyDome. Juan Guzman and Robbie Alomar arrived as well with the Canadian flags up. Joe Carter, Dave Winfield, and finally it was time for all the players to say their thank yous to the fans of Toronto and Canada.
As you look at the champions up here, applaud yourselves. You are the champions of baseball on this day, too.
You've been our friends from the beginning, and we appreciate everything that you have done for us to make this such a wonderful and safe day. And I'd particularly like to thank Pat Gillick and Cito Gaston. They provided the leadership both on and off the field that has brought us all here this afternoon, and I think made sure that nobody's in school.
Back there in Atlanta, they're not chopping too much right now because Roberto Alomar brought home the tomahawk. Oh, Robbie. Robbie brought home the tomahawk.
special, I want to thank to a man that deserved this more than us, Mr. Cito Gaston. I think so he deserved this.
I want to thank the trainer, too, because they helped me to come back from my injuries that I was, and helped the team to come back to make the World Series. And I want to thank the organization, you know, to give me a chance to be here, too. And all the fans, too, you know. I love you all. You know.
He hit the first World Series home run as a Blue Jay. And he hit the first home run ever on Canadian soil in the World Series. Joe Carter.
You people follow instructions well, because halfway through the season, Mr. Winfield said he wants noise, and I tell you what, you've been giving him noise ever since then. This was great. This is what baseball is all about, and you could not have asked for a better ending to a season than what transpired here in Toronto. We did it. We're world champions. We're all number one. Thank you.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, yeah. I want to thank, in this order, I want to thank the God above. I want to thank my family, my wife, my boy, my daughter, Cassie. And I want to thank you fans. You're the best fans in the world. And I don't care about the one or two that boo me. You're the best.
Although it may be true that people on this stage are either American or Latin American, we still feel the pride of Canada. We see the flags. You don't have to be Canadian to feel that pride. Don't ever change. Thank you very much.
And you say MVP, you say most valuable player. These two guys helped us more on the bench and in the locker room before and after the games than anyone could help us on the field. I'm talking about Jack Morris and Dave Winfield.
I quoted a little poem for them in spring training, and I've changed it a little bit so all of you can hear it. The poem goes like this: roses are red, violets are blue. The Twins were champs in '91, and the Jays are champs in '92. Thank you.
I've had some great players here. I've had some great people here to play this game, and there's a lot of them still here. But this is probably the most determined team I've ever had here to be sitting on this stage, and they did it all. These guys.
Let's hear noise! Winfield wants noise! All right. You guys have made this a special year for me. This has been the greatest year of my baseball career. I've never won a championship at this level. You helped bring that about. If you'll all turn around, right above the Jumbotron, unveil 1992 World Champions, Toronto Blue Jays. Stand up. Give them an applause. We want noise. I love you. You're great.
Great party at SkyDome this afternoon. Now let's go back to SkyDome, where Gino Retta had a chance to talk with World Series MVP Pat Borders.
Thanks, and now joining us, of course, the most valuable player of the 1992 World Series, Pat Borders. Pat, everyone talks about the fact that individual honors don't mean anything. Of course, it's the World Series championship that means everything. Certainly, that's the most important thing, but what a great thrill, MVP.
That far exceeded my wildest dreams. You know, a big dream for me was just to get to the World Series, or not the World Series, but the big leagues for one at bat. That's what my goal was in the minor leagues. You know, a couple years before I made it to the big leagues, I said all I want is one at bat, and I can retire and be happy. You know, to have something like this happen and go through a parade like they had today, and the excitement these fans have generated, it's way beyond your wildest imagination.
Nice time to get hot at the plate.
Yeah. You know, I hit 242 during the season, so it was just a matter of seeing the ball well, and you get in a hot streak, and it happened to be at the right time for me. I was thinking about it, and maybe it was because I didn't feel like I had to contribute with you know, the Winfields and the Carters and all the other good players we have in the lineup to hit the ball so well. And I was more worried about my defense than anything else, so I wasn't really thinking about the offense, and maybe that helped.
All right, a lot of talk about the base runners. Let's avoid that just for a moment. But talk about the fact that you sacrificed your body really from day one behind the plate. You had a lot of balls that were rolling up to the plate, and you're trying to block.
Well, that's a big part of Guzman, Morris, Cohn's pitching style, as well as Stottlemyre and Key starting to develop a little bit of style where he likes to throw the ball in the dirt too. So I have to learn how to block the ball, or they're going to get someone else who does. It's not a matter of wanting to get out there and getting hit. I'd better do it, or we'll have somebody else there.
But this is really what it's all about. When you're a youngster sitting in the dirt lots, pretending, standing at the plate, saying, okay, this is the World Series. But now you've been there, and you've done it.
Yeah, I used to think about the big red machine back in the early 70s, and the same thing, getting the sand lots and hitting the ball and say the base is loaded and this whatnot. But to actually be there and have it over with, and to have a ring next year coming to us is so much excitement I can't put it in words.
All right, Pat, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Pat Borders, the 1992 World Series MVP. And understandably so, he turned in an outstanding performance. Let's send you back to Sports Desk.
Okay, thank you, Gene. And from the World Series MVP, let's now hear from the American League Championship MVP. If it weren't for Robbie Alomar's two-run homer in Game 4 of the ALCS, the Jays might not be celebrating today. Once again, here's Gino Reda.
Now joining us back here is Robbie Alomar. Robbie, unbelievable. The crowd is telling you how proud they are. I guess you must be feeling very proud as well.
Well, they feel proud, and we feel real proud, too. This has been an exciting year for us. I think so. We said from the beginning that we're going to go all the way, and we did. And they deserved a World Series, and we gave them a World Series.
You came over to the Toronto Blue Jays thinking, what is this whole new city about? New fans, new setting. I have no idea what's going on. Obviously, that was the greatest move of your life.
Well, yeah, when I came from San Diego, I don't know where I was going, but I knew I was going to a winning team. And here I am in a winning team, having a lot of fun.
Did it awfully dramatically, Dave Winfield, that two-run double. Could you have picked a better hero on this team, do you think?
Well, I think so. No, it's no hero. Everybody was a hero here in this team, and I was so glad about Winfield getting that RBI because you never know where he's going to be next year. I hope he'll be with us next year, but I'm real glad because he's been want to win a World Series for 20 years, and he did this year.
He did that, Robbie, and you were a big part of that. Congratulations to you and the entire team.
Thank you, Gino.
And thank you, Gino. The party in Toronto started late Saturday night after Mike Timlin tossed to Joe Carter for the final out. The sound of honking horns could still be heard most of yesterday. And as Mark Bunting reports, today's victory parade was a perfect climax for a weekend of baseball frenzy in Toronto.
Over 50,000 fans line up in the rain outside SkyDome 4 hours before the reception is supposed to begin. When the doors are flung open at 10 a.m., the fans surge forward, hoping for a good seat. Meanwhile, in front of the Royal York Hotel, several thousand more people await their conquering heroes. Some have gone to great lengths to get a good vantage point. Around 1 o'clock, buses start arriving, carrying Blue Jay players, coaches, and other team personnel. The most popular car is occupied by teen idol Roberto Alomar and Juan Guzman.
So what do you think so far?
Wow, I think this is going to be my best moment in all my life. I can't believe this, you know. This has been outstanding, you know. I can't believe, you know, all the people, you know, all the stuff. I can tell you, I feel like dying right now.
Get some good shots?
Oh, yeah, we'll get some great shots. We got one of y'all right now. We're on live right now, TTV.
So what do you think about this?
Oh, this is great, man. Look at this support. I can see it for miles going down here right now.
It was a long wait for you. It must be very satisfying.
Very satisfying. I can't explain. We're just taking it all in. The people deserved it. We gave it to them. And it's kind of symbiotic. We're getting it back, too.
All right, have fun.
All right.
Inside the dome around 2 o'clock, the mere sight of policemen on Harleys is enough to send the fans into a frenzy. They know their champions are close. The biggest cheer is reserved for Alomar and Guzman. When all the speeches are done, the final confirmation. The Toronto Blue Jays are indeed World Series champions. Mark Bunting, TSN in Toronto.
And still to come on the show, we'll hear from the heart and soul of the Blue Jays, Dave Winfield. Other World Series notes to pass on. U.S. President George Bush has invited the Blue Jays to visit the White House. Prime Minister Brian Mulroney has already sent his congratulations to the team. And the Jays aren't the only baseball team celebrating today. A 10th inning sacrifice fly drove in the winning run, giving the Cebu Lions a 2-1 win over the Yakult Swallows in the Japanese World Series. Okay, time for a quick break on Sports Desk. Much more still to come, including a look at what General Manager Pat Gillick faces before the Jays take to the field again next year. A ton of free agents to deal with. We'll look at that topic and hear from Dave Winfield when we come back. That's when they signed Dave Winfield during the offseason. Winfield brought a winning attitude to a team loaded with talent but never able to go that extra step. It was only fitting the series-winning RBI came off his bat. Let's go back to SkyDome where Gino Retta talked with Dave Winfield.
This must just be one of the proudest moments of your life.
It is. I mean, the outpouring of love and affection people have for this team was very apparent. I mean, from the parade and the reception here at the Dome, it's beautiful. Man, I'm almost as tired as I was after the game the other day, but this has been great.
This city really did welcome you with open arms. As soon as you came in, they quickly embraced you. If any other player had said something like you said about the fact that the town was maybe just a little bit too quiet, they might have been received differently. But when you said it, the fans took it to heart and said, then if that's key, we're going to do it for them.
Yeah, they did. You know, I mean, I just made an observation, and there was a lot of comment about it, but people reacted. They responded. And I think there was that relationship between how well we did and how much they cheered us on. And believe me, the other teams commented on, it was a little intimidating for them. They were not used to the response, but it was very positive, and it was all in fun and support of their team, and they helped carry us, so they deserve a lot of credit too, you know.
So you're standing at the plate, Robbie Alomar's at first, Devon White's on second, you're thinking, I can do this. All my life I've dreamt about that. Is that the kind of moment that as a pro ball player you think, I would just love to have this? Because up until this point, that was the one thing missing in your career, a Hall of Fame career, but that was still missing.
Yeah, to a large degree. You don't want to put extra pressure on yourself, but you certainly wanted to. I wanted to capitalize long before then. I wanted to have a real good series. It was okay, and but I came up with the men on base, extra innings, game on the line, boom, I got that hit. You don't know what kind of catharsis that was, the relief. I was happy for us. The guys were
strike away from clinching. The 1-2 pitch. The Toronto Blue Jays are Oakland bound.
Nobody out. Winning run on third. Base hit. Blue Jays win the East. Let the celebration begin. The Jays have come through in '92. High fly ball toward the line and left. Calling for it is Maldonado, and the Blue Jays have finally won the pennant.
With the tying run at third and 2 down in the bottom of the 11th. 4-3 Blue Jays. John Smoltz, the pinch runner at third. Timlin. Nixon bunts. Timlin on it. Throws to first. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992.